What's going on, everybody? Welcome to tonight's broadcast of the ACL. This is week 2, day 2, day 4, if you're keeping track of how many matches we've shown so far. And already 4 teams qualified to the playoffs, but still 4 spots up for grabs in this stage of the tournament, 8 more later on. My name is Gordo. I am joined by TDS on the cast tonight. TDS, we have got a real exciting matchup here. It's Lotus versus Galaxy Gaming today to try to move in to that upcoming qualifier match.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one. Obviously, having two teams that I think the expectation was around this point, actually, because like it feels like pretty much it has settled into like the teams that we were expecting to qualify first qualify, and then the ones that will follow kind of are already in that position. I feel like the only one that is out of position at this point is because of what happened yesterday with Komodo, with the upset that they suffered. And apart from that, like everything else kind of fills into place. But obviously, these two teams, you cannot discount anything. Both of them are really strong, and I think they have a lot of things to offer in terms of what this matchup could look like.
Yeah, and the other upset you could argue is the fact that Lotus is here at all, right? Because Lotus came in as a Pool 2 team. They dropped to Milk in the previous round to get knocked on down here. Their previous round, that is. So Milk, of course, played against Papa's Chonks on this stream yesterday. But back last week, they played up against Lotus. It was a 2-0 win for Milk there. And that is how Lotus find themselves facing off against Pool 4 Galaxy Gaming, who themselves have had a pretty solid run here so far, winning series against Zero Animosity and GCS Challengers, and then also taking a game off Papa's Chonks, which is more than we got out of Milk yesterday.
True, a 2-0 out of Milk wasn't the most impactful or impressive thing, but certainly at the very least being able to contest against them in the way that they did is something to try and look forward to in how this matchup is set up, because obviously there's the potential that they either are really, really good and they were just like in a really unlucky day, or it kind of just their strength with Milk is more comparable than their strength with Papa's Chunks. And that's also another reality that we may have, that these 3 teams are actually more close in level than they are to Papa's Chunks, and then obviously Papa's Chunks being the number 1 in that sense.
Yeah, and this kind of brings us into this Galaxy roster that, frankly, I've been a bit high on all along. So I'm very excited to see them coming on in, as they're the ones that have been able to put up really good performances here so far and are kind of the upstarts in the matchup. The roster, of course, here is going to be Karshiak, Krakodon, Aj, Inori B, and St. Ghoul. Would be remiss to not point out they were playing with Inori for their first week of matches. That is the player that they took the match against Peach Cats with, not Peach Cats, Papa's Chonks, as well as winning up against Zero Animosity with. Krakodon, a new addition this week, but fit right in as they were able to take a quick 2-0 against GCS yesterday.
Not pitch cuts, but close enough, certainly. And yeah, they were the ones that did take the match out of them. The original Inori, or the original Inori playing at the time being, but now changing it up a little bit with Krakodon. I'm not sure how much that does affect the way that I measure them against Papa's Chunks. But certainly, at the very least, I think that the original idea is still kind of intact. Obviously, Krakodon and Inori are not really comparable in some ways, but I still feel like the team has a lot that they can play with, has a lot of power. Obviously, I'm focusing always on the mid and the bot side of the map, because I think that those 3 players are quite good. And then for Noses, it's kind of weird, because I do think that he can play really well, but at the same time, like, I don't feel there's that extra factor that you can see in some other top laners. So I just feel like he's just in between to what you expect from him, or from a top laner in general.
Yeah, I'm kind of hyped for Karshiak. I think he's been developing nicely since his debut, and he's still a relatively new player to the scene, and had a really solid split for himself on Deathmark last split, and was able to kind of parlay that into a quote-unquote team upgrade here. Definitely some higher pedigree players around him on this Galaxy Gaming team, and I have some high hopes for where they're going to be able to go. I think at the end of it all, they're going to end up beating out this Pool 4 seed. I think they will make playoffs, and I think they will finish top 12. That's where I would put my money at this stage of competition. But to do that, they don't have to beat Lotus, but it would certainly be a great step towards achieving such a goal. Let's check on out their opposition today. It is going to be Lotus, a lot of NA real staples here for the NA Tier 3 scene in Porsche, Chad, Robbie Bob, and then down at support Clarice, and then of course the new name who some may be familiar with depending on how on Twitter and on Twitch they are. That is Reptile coming in from Germany to play alongside this Lotus team.
Yeah, such a huge new name. Nobody actually has ever seen him play before coming into Lotus, obviously, and now having the first shot at actually competing here. We can write this narrative,
EU
honestly, but you know
doesn't
what?
count, man. You got to be here. You got to be in Aegis. You got to be on the NA server, or it doesn't mean squat.
So far, we've seen how we essentially have won against EU the last few tournaments. Also, Bushio just recently screwed over G2 by just by memeing on them, something that has become more frequent for NA now against EU. So obviously he has to prove himself here in NA.
Definitely. He is, I do believe, playing on ping.
Okay.
That will not stop me from memeing on EU throughout this match, and I hope it doesn't stop you either.
Completely agree.
But yeah, before you flame Reptile too hard, you do have to remember he is going to be playing here on ping, but sometimes that's the price you have to pay to come and play in some of the top tier 3 competition around. And he has got himself a hell of a team around him, so no excuses with this Lotus team. Chad, of course, has previously won himself an ACL title, as has Porsche. Robbie Bob and Clarice, real stalwarts in the zone as well. These guys have been really, really good in many ACLs past, have made many really deep runs. Feels like they've been struggling a little bit this ACL, though, and I feel like I end up saying that about these like Porsche Robbie Bob teams every split, and then they end up pulling it together and having a ton of success. But going to 3 games up against Zero Animosity yesterday and getting 2-0'd by Milk last week.
Yeah, probably not the ideal results, but obviously we have to take into account not only the fact that Reptile is playing with ping, but also that this technically is a team that is trying to adapt to that and trying to play around like a newer player, because yes, the top set has been playing for quite a bit, but also just like you were mentioning, these players are kind of like late beginners more so than early starters, where they probably are going to take a little bit longer before they accommodate, but as soon as they accommodate, they become a top team in the league. And that's something that has happened multiple times before in ACL. So you cannot discount them for their previous results. I think that as soon as that kind of clicks, they're going to be the team that we're expecting them to be. That being said, you cannot take too long either, because with our format, you do have a time limit. Like, you cannot play like 8 matches in a group and then try and be the 4th best. Like, you actually can run into a situation where you can get eliminated eventually. So you have to be careful about that anyway.
You definitely do. And of course, we were talking about the histories in ACL for a lot of these players here on Lotus. They've played plenty of matches in ACL's past. Robbie actually back to back 5th, 6th place finishes. So has been in the money, but not quite making it to that top 4. So we'll have to see how he's going to be able to do this time around. Another crack at trying to make a deep run here, but this time the competition at a very high level. We've got 3.5-ish NACL teams, all of them having already qualified as Pool 1 seeds yesterday. Little pat on the back to everybody on the seeding committee there, yourself included, TDS, as all the Pool 1 teams did qualify as first seeds out of their GSL groups. I do think that is where the 100% accuracy rate is going to end, though. I do think there's going to be some Pool 2 teams that don't end up making it out as second seed. I think Lotus is on the chopping block.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I already got screwed over by Lotus. Yeah, I think Lotus already screwed us over with that, by the way. So
it's not, they're not cooked yet. They could win here, get a rematch against Milk, and win that, and then still get out as the second seed. But they're on the chopping block. They're on notice. They're definitely after getting 2-0'd by Milk, it seems more unlikely than likely. But we'll have to see if they can turn things around and put on a better showing here today. Feels like Porsche has been a big part of what they've been playing through as of right now, maybe partially because Reptile's on ping, but the Gangplank has come out, has looked really good, even in a loss up against Milk, and been drawing constant bans in both the Gangplank and the Mbessa and the Gwen.
Yeah, it's certainly trying to bring attention towards Porsche quite frequently, which is not necessarily a bad thing to try and play with, especially when you're AD carry and maybe he's not having the most comfort in how he wants to playing. That being said, I think there's obviously tools that Porsche does bring, particularly apart from the attention, is that I feel like most of the time whenever teams try to play away from Porsche, even though he can do still really well, I feel like they take away from that factor that he brings forward, that clutch potential in some of the fights, being able to win his lane in a lot of the situations as well, and then being that secondary carry to Robbie Bob, where Robbie Bob I feel is more like the playmaker sort of player. I think you have Borch more of the potential secondary carry to your team or the secondary threat to the team. And he also can play a little bit more of the tank duty in that sense, but I feel like this brings his strength a little bit better and makes him be more valuable to the team in what they want to accomplish. But obviously, being a secondary threat means that the main threat needs to be really strong, and that's when we need to see Reptile really stepping it up as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to be on the lookout for, right? You know, you always have these kind of debates. What does ping mean? How much ping is too much? From Germany, it's too much. I'll promise you that much. But where is the drop off going to happen? How competitive can a player like Reptile be if he is getting opportunities here? And I mean, and I'm trying to not get myself flamed too hard on socials here, but how competitive could Reptile be anyway, right? I mean, there's a lot of NA tier 2 players here that have been competitive, and I'm sorry. I'm at the point that I'm not just going to default assume that EU tier 2 players are better than any tier 2 players. I don't believe that. And he's surrounded himself with some tier 2 level players here in Chad and Robbie Bob, who have both had splits of NACL to different degrees of success. And Galaxy kind of in the running to want to be in that kind of promotion category. I do think they have some individually talented players there that are likely to be making some deep promotion runs, if not soon, later, right? It's going to happen at some point or another, I think, for a lot of these guys. A lot of younger players on this team, like Inori B, Aj, Krakadon, Karshiak. I think a lot of these guys, you know, you'll see at least a couple of these names in the NACL before all is said and done for their careers. I would wager a guess.
Yeah, and ideally that would be the best outcome that it can fall into. But obviously, trying to measure Reptile is going to be a lot on what he's able to accomplish. Obviously, playing from ping, but also playing out of what he can try and do in most of the situations. Because we also have to consider that yes, he may be playing with ping, but his team is really strong. Like this is like you were mentioning before. Like these are players that are accustomed to being top higher than eighth at the very least in most ACLs, in most competitions. OQs, they're always fighting for the qualifying spot. So you can make excuses to a certain degree, but at the same time, you have to really take everything with a bit of salt because this team is supposed to be strong. And if you add someone that has been as hyped as Reptile for a lot of the situations that he has been in, then you certainly think that this roster should be much stronger than what they're showing so far, and they need to step it up if they want to really live up to the expectation that some people have in them.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. And he's been embracing this kind of like scaling style with the team, right? They've been playing strong side around Porsche, and that has meant that Reptile's been farming it up, which you would think is, in some ways, you might argue, oh, you know, he's they're playing away from him because he's on ping and because he's going to be a little bit less reliable for that reason. But put a lot of eggs in the late game Reptile basket. I mean, he's been playing Aphelios, he's been playing Sivir, Yunara, Vayne, Smolder, these kinds of picks coming out. Hasn't repeated one yet, but something they all have in common is that they are all scaling up for those late game team fights.
Yeah, all of them trying to reach that point. I think it's a pretty comfortable plan that Lotus goes for, if you ask me, because trying to get towards the late game can be really consistent, can be quite easy to execute on and play around. And as long as you have a really strong carry, which I assume Reptile is for what Lotus is looking for, then it can really be executed really, really well. Now, how consistent can that plan work? We'll have to wait and see. It clearly didn't work that well against Milk, but as long as it works from now on as effectively as possible, that really can execute on what they want for. And also, I do think that for now, at the very least, it feels like the stronger champions are going to be those hyper carries, that you have a strong hyper carry in your team, can really execute on them effectively.
And this is a showdown where I think the bot lane's going to get real interesting, especially if Reptile wants to go for that strategy. It's up against Inori B. And Inori B is, of course, our resident tier 3 Draven, Kalista, Lane Slam main here. The Kalista certainly dropped off of people's radars a little bit after a bit of an abysmal MSI from that pick. But Draven, alive and kicking, getting picked, getting games on it. But he's also a player that is willing to go for, you know, the Sivers of the world, the Jins, the Aphelioses. So I'm curious to see what direction Galaxy Gaming actually end up taking this bot lane in, given that fact, and how much they're going to prioritize a lane dominant setup for Inori B, who paired up with St. Ghoul, I think can play a little bit more of a lane focused style than he did last split when he was paired on up with Kim Down. Or if they choose to just kind of play the scale up game, shake hands on that, and play over towards Karshiak, who has also had himself a really strong split so far, really centering around stuff like that Rumble.
Yeah, it could be a choice. Well, Rumble has been a really strong choice anyway, so like kind of difficult to not really play around that sort of pick. But it does bring the question on the top lane matchup if we're going to see just a straight up Bruiser be Bruiser or Carry be Carry in most situations, if the ban list is just going to go deeply into that, or there's going to be other choices for that as well.
Yeah, we will have to see. We are missing a player, so we will hopefully be getting ready for draft here before too long. Got to have a little bit of additional time, but we're not holding you guys for no reason. We'll start the draft as soon as we have all 10 players in the lobby. Let's move on over to that mid lane matchup. I think Robbie Bob versus Aj going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on here. Aj been an up and comer, I think, over these last couple of splits. Had some really solid runs with stuff like that Dorado Gaming team. Think about how well they were able to do, making around, I think they were top 6 in OQs under the old format once upon a time, and now coming on in here alongside this Galaxy Gaming team, I think will be an interesting addition. They were playing with Ariandel last split, if I'm not mistaken. Now bringing on in Aj, who represents, I think, a little bit more flashy, engagey kind of play compared to Ariandel, who has kind of been a long stalwart of, yeah, he's the double dragon guy, right? He'll play Aurelion Sol one game, Smolder the next game, and look to scale into the late game and be a menace on those stacking characters. But Aj drawing near permanent bans on stuff like the Azir and the Yone, which have been really big picks for him, and snapping up that Ahri every time it's available as well.
Yeah, trying to make the picks happen, trying to make the plays happen in general, like you're pointing out. I think this makes the mid lane matchup be much more interesting with that idea, because obviously Bob and Ash being players that want to go for the plays, that want to go for something to end up happening, that wants them to try and go for a play and for something to happen in the map. It's always exciting to see it can backfire or work out massively well. But it does mean that we're going to see much more movement coming in from the mid lane, and it does mean that the jungler mid lane duo is going to be extremely crucial in this game, because they're going to be the ones dictating how the match goes for either side.
Yeah, and that's where Crackodon comes in, bringing a replacement for Inori to this Galaxy Gaming roster. Got no insights at this time as to that roster change, but I think he's a player that I'm very excited for. I think Crackodon has put himself together some really solid splits. Thinking back to like Gentle Hearts, some teams that Crackodon debuted with and was really, really good with. I'm excited for this player to maybe level up a little bit more and start to become one of those next up junglers. And I think this is a team that can really support him alongside it. It's a really young top side all around. It's a really young team all around compared to a lot of the competitors that we have here in ACL, and they really have the potential. If one or two of these guys has a big breakout split, I think it can mean a lot for how deep of a run this Galaxy Gaming team can make, especially for a team that was like 3.4 seed average, that puts them firmly in pool 4. I think they can outperform that seed pretty handedly if a couple of these guys are able to have the sorts of performances that we believe that they can as they develop further. As the draft has kicked off, Yone banned away for Lotus, and Pantheon the first off the batch for Galaxy.
Yeah, opting into a little of what we were thinking initially, obviously banning away mid laners that could be aggressive, attacking the Ashe pool, certainly looking like that, and then also attacking the jungle pool on the side of Galaxy. I think it's smart to try and pin down a little bit more on Chad, because even though Chad does have a good pool of champions to play with, taking away the early prowess that he may have, or some of the early attention power picks that he may have, can be really ideal for Galaxy as well. As with the Gwen going down, the Nico more than likely as well. We'll have to wait and see if the Varus is going to stay as one of those priority picks that we've seen consistently, or if we see the rise of other AD carries as well. And then also things like the Sejuani, like the Vi, still being as prevalent as they are.
For sure. The Nico taken off the board here. That's going to be a pick you're going to see banned away from Clarice quite a bit. I hear that he is quite dangerous on the Nico, so will not be allowed onto it this time around. Bans going over towards Karshiak in the form of that Gwen, and there goes the Vi as well to try to limit options from Crackodon. That's been a big pick for Chad as well, so I'm surprised to see Lotus they had both the Gwen and the Vi. These are both picks that have been
Yep.
pretty big for them in their runs so far, but clearly wanting to adopt a bit of a different strategy for their matchup here up against Galaxy. And like we said, they've not had the split that they would have wanted so far. It's obviously still very, very early. They've only played 2 matches, but they have dropped at least 1 game in both, and they've lost to Milk. So they're going to look to try to shuffle up the strategy a little bit. An early Orianna for Robbie Bob. You can't be mad at that one, and they will snap it on up, threatening a Nocturne combo if it is something that they want to go for.
I was expecting more to see the Xin Zhao than the Nocturne really coming in on that sense. The Xin Zhao feels like one of those picks that has more priority right now, kind of like with the buy, and then can fight really effectively. But certainly the Orianna does bring up the Nocturne quite a bit. And with a lot of the low mobility champions that are currently available in the meta, Nocturne Orianna feels like such a deadly combo.
Rumble locked in here for Karshiak. That's been a favorite of his all split long. He's picked it 3 times. That is the maximum number of times you can have played Rumble, 3 series in. And now 4 series in, he's going to make it 4 Rumble games. That 100% presence for Karshiak going to remain. Looking at a Sejuani here, that's an interesting one when you have an AP top like the Rumble, and the Yone is already banned away, so we're not going to see it paired up with a Yone mid either. Could threaten for a different melee mid, though. We have seen the Yasuo out of Aj already this split. I wonder if that's something that they're looking at.
Could be a Corki, could be a Yasuo. Certainly, there's a couple of few champions you can technically go mid lane that are physical damage, but certainly the Rumble and the Sejuani, when you pick them up, like you feel like there has to be a more physical oriented damage dealer in the mid lane. Now, the Ambessa on the other side about to be picked here, Porch going to be aggressive with that, and it was something that we were mentioning as well in the pick and ban that has come for Lotus as well. Porch has played the champion, and it looks like he is going to repeat here against the Rumble. Not necessarily a bad matchup. You can do a lot if you're able to find the right angle, and then the Orianna combo can still work with the Ambessa as well. You don't need the Nocturne only. Like, you can also put the ball on top of the Ambessa, and you can technically go for like a weird Orianna ultimate thanks to that as well. As for what's remaining, could be a jungle pick here, or instead locking down the Yunara first here.
They might take it for Reptile. He has gone for it before. It seems to think that the pick is strong and it will be locked in. And you have to correct you a little bit on something, TDS. There's that Yasuo we talked about, but a quick correction here. Porsche's not played the Ambessa, and that's because it's 100% ban rate against him. Every single game he's played so far, the Ambessa's been banned away. So the first time he gets a chance to snatch it up, he is going to grab it for himself here. And the Yunara coming in the bottom lane. Yasuo, the immediate response here for Aj. He will have that melee mid to go alongside the Sejuani. Can hold down people on top of Equalizer with that as well. And the Poppy ban going to make him a little bit more comfortable in his ability to dash around the fights.
Yeah, really important to have that Poppy coming in there. Also, the fact that it's the Orianna in the mid lane means that Talia more than likely going down in priority. You could technically still go for Talia in the jungle, but I don't think that's going to be something that Lotus or Chad will try and opt into here. As the remaining ban phase going through, I think a lot more focus now in the bot lane from Lotus, thanks to the fact that they already picked the AD carry, and there's a handful of supports that you kind of want to go for with the Yunara. And then on the other side, the Trundle, I think perfect sense, especially against the Sejuani, and it leaves open a couple of options for Chad anyway. But I like the bans from both Poppy and Trundle for the Sejuani and the Yasuo. I think they make a lot of sense and a really good idea to ban them away here. And lastly, I'm expecting maybe something like an Alistar to be banned away if Lotus is really scared about the engage, or maybe the Leona or the Rakan as well, because you do need something to try and knock up people for the Yasuo.
You do. And that's where you're going to wonder what is going to come on through, because the Alistar and Nautilus both banned away. Those have been the biggest picks for St. Ghoul so far this season. There are other options available, though. Maybe something like the Rakan. He's been a Thresh enjoyer as well. It would be interesting to see that one come out. But game 1 Thresh feels like a bridge too far. The Rel, a nice, easy way to get fights started. No Poppy here to hose it. Going to be really strong alongside the Rumble and the Yasuo. A great selection for Galaxy on R4.
And makes the engage really strong as well, and Force said so that you can technically have to opt into those team fights most of the time. Now, the AD carry choice, it's not necessarily going to be difficult, and the Braum coming in to support the Yunara, it's going to be an interesting choice as well.
Yeah, it's now Braum going to be hovered here for Lotus, looking at Claritz be able to pilot this one alongside that Yunara for Reptile. The Wukong, tried and true with the Orianna, really solid, sets up for more of a team fighty composition and going to need to be there for that potential engage. Braum going to come in for a little bit of disengage to try to fight back up against the likes of this Rel Sejuani duo. Inori B looking at the Nyla. The Senna would be
bait.
a disappointment after you flashed us the Nyla, my friend. Let's see.
What would the Seraphim be?
I think you can split the Diffie here. You can go for something like a Kaisa. You know, you can play something maybe a little bit flashy, a little bit complimentary towards the rest of the team. Still lets you dive into the back line alongside the Yasuo, and that's going to get locked in. So I'll take it, Inori B. I'll take it. At least it's not Senna.
Senna or Seraphim, I think that's perfectly fine. You go for the champion that can dive in, but it's going to be dive in by the Yasuo, the Rel, and the Kaisa. The Rumble can go into the back, but it's mainly going to be off of the equalizer, so it's going to be interesting seeing how most of the fights will happen. And this game is going to have a heavy dependence on the way that the Rel and the Sejuani engage, because if they find an amazing engage, the Wombo just destroys the side of Lotus completely. But if they whip any ulti or they don't play for their ultis accordingly, the longer fight does feel like it may favor Lotus a little bit more off of the out attack potential from the Yunara, the double ultimate by the Wukong, and also the Braum shield being able to get on repeat onto someone that just is going to be killed or attacked consistently. So there's a lot of things to really consider in this game. I think going to be fun seeing the diversity in the way that both teams will try and approach it with their composition.
We will find out how they'll be able to navigate alongside the disengage represented by the Braum and the Wukong. Really going to need to keep that Yunara safe, and there's really a lot of tools on the Galaxy side to be able to try to knock that one down and lock it down. The Rel, the Sejuani, both going to be trying to connect with some of that targeted CC to be able to keep them in place. So Reptile going to have to keep his wits about him and try to kite this one out as best as he can. Does have the Orianna Wukong combo to try to get these fights started if they are the ones initiating. Galaxy not going to have the best tools for disengage at their disposal. They really want to be the ones getting these fights started. They want to be diving into the back line with their Yasuo and Kaisa. So very important that they're the ones getting the setup and that they're the ones who are going to be navigating their way into more successful situations. So want to see them shoving out their waves early, want to see them showing up to objectives first, want to see them laying down vision to make sure that they will be able to pick off anybody from Lotus that wanders into their space.
Choices that you can go for here. The fact that there's barely any tanky champions, bar the Braum and maybe a little bit of the Mbessa and the Wukong, means that there's going to be multiple choices to try and go for. Also, something that I'm kind of curious, this game is going to be the side lane pressure, right? Because Mbessa can't contest to anyone, obviously, in the side lane, but who is going to stop the other side? Because if it's AHJ on one side with the Yasuo, and then the Rumble on the other side as well, right? Who are you going to focus? Probably the Yasuo, but you leave open a completely new lane, and the Orianna is not necessarily the best to try and stop side lane pushes from one of these two champions. So it's going to be interesting seeing who they are going to lock into stopping that, and if Galaxy can also take advantage of the 1-3-1 potential.
Now going to be having a little bit of extra time here as the lobby did break, so we will need to restart the lobby before we can get into that spectator delay. Do also think that the Rel and Kaisa should probably be swapped here. I think Inori B is almost certainly on the Kaisa, St. Ghoul certainly on the Rel. That aside, these are going to be lineups for game number 1, and I'm excited for this Yasuo. You know, we didn't get to talk about it too much because we already were speeding through the draft so quickly, but I think it's a great setup, especially with this Rel that they were able to get through. I mean, there's too many knock-up supports. Lotus couldn't get all of them banned away. The Poppy ban, again, really paying dividends to be able to set up for the support selection for St. Ghoul, and it makes such an easy fight starting tool for the rest of Galaxy Gaming. It also complements Karshiak on the Rumble. I love what Galaxy's been able to construct with that little trio there. Just a lot of nice complementary attributes throughout this team composition. Very synergistic. It would do great in TFT.
Yeah, trying to take advantage of the fact that there was a new set that did come out, although I'm pretty sure almost none of these champions are in the new. No, actually, Braum is, so, and Kaisa. So there's good representation for the TFT set, but the ideas that they both bring here are going to be quite nice. I'm not sure why, but I kind of like Galaxy's more because it feels like more straightforward, more to the point. The burden of execution doesn't feel as high because you just need to team fight to press 3 buttons and you can win any team fight essentially. But I'm also really curious in seeing the Lotus side of the composition, especially with the Yunara, because even though her priority wasn't first pick, that still was a champion that has been quite interesting so far, and I do want to see how Raptor can play it with Pink.
Yeah, does really lend itself some questions as to how you're going to be able to play these high mechanical carries in these sorts of situations when you are higher on ping. Got to have some real snap reflexes to be able to dodge some of these engages that are going to be coming out from Crackodon and from St. Ghoul. Flash crash downs, flash glacial prisons, all going to make things plenty more difficult for him. We'll see how those reaction times look playing all the way across the pond. That's going to be a major thing to discuss here for Lotus. I mean, really, that question, kind of what a lot of this Lotus team rides on. These guys, they don't have substitutes. They got their 5 starters, and that is it on the roster. They can always add one, of course, but the assumption, at least coming into the split, is it's Reptile all the way.
Yeah, they're believing in his potential and the fact that the ping will not be an issue for really long. Or they think that Reptile will eventually come and they just want to ride the wave until he comes near an A enough that he can play normal ping. Probably not going to happen the second one. So more than likely they are believing in the fact that they do have an AD carry for all split long and that he's not going to be as impacted by the lag. But it just feels like the higher we go against the stronger teams, it's going to become much more difficult for it to work out like that.
Yeah, so we get our own little mini MSI here, the Nori V versus Reptile. This is basically FlyQuest versus G2. We're very excited to see which region will reign supreme on the day. Sorry to Porsche, Chad, Robbie Bob, and Clarice. I don't mean to call you region traders, but you are a little bit. I mean, we definitely NA homers have got to be on the Galaxy side here, at least a little bit. Sorry to Lotus and Marcus and all those guys, but the NA home is going to be with Galaxy Gaming this time around as we do wait to load on into the game. Chad versus Crackodon going to be a tough challenge for Crackodon as well. We've kind of talked up. I think a lot of these guys, apart from the NAEU angle, this is really a kind of veterans versus newbies kind of scene here. Of course, everybody on Galaxy has played multiple splits at this point. It's not like any of them are true rookies, but compared to how many splits of play there's been from Porsche, Chad, Robbie Bob, dwarfs the numbers that Karshiak, Crackodon, and Aj are putting together here. So it'll be cool to see if anybody on Galaxy can kind of rise up and look to take the spot in the tier 3 echelons that have long been held by the likes of this Lotus team.
Oh, that just goes to show the pedigree that Lotus team has and the amount of power that they will be able to exert on most other teams. And also goes to show how Galaxy's roster, like you were mentioning, it can be hype if they really come together. Like this can be a really hype roster to look forward to because their story is yet to be having more chapters compared to what Lotus has had. I don't think so. Maybe in OIB and St. Ghoul probably are the only ones that have played a promotion tournament. I'm honestly blanking. Actually, Ash did play an ACL, no? Just quickly thinking off the back of my head.
Aj has not played an ACL.
Didn't he? No, actually, I confused him. No, Ash, I thought I confused him with someone else. Sorry for that, Ash.
Adam, I'm going to guess.
No, I was thinking Ash played in that Mirage Alliance roster, but that was RJS. That
was RJS. Different 3 letters.
But it was 3 letters. That's why I got confused. But going back to the point, like realistically, this roster barely has players that have played a promotion tournament for an ACL. So yes. I think that this can be a roster that, if they come together, can be a really high prospect to really look forward to.
Yeah, definitely could be. As we are on to Summoner's Rift, game number 1, kicking off right here. Lotus versus Galaxy Gaming for a shot at Milk Esports and a shot at early qualification into playoffs. Best of 3 starts right now.
In the custom position, stirring contest on both sides, nothing out of the ordinary. Barely any division, actually none at all even. So just going to be the normal control that they are able to go for and try and get going as much as possible. Now, Looking into the lanes, I probably expect to see Galaxy having a little bit more potential advantage in other spots. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so now St. Ghoul gonna get slowed on up here. We'll be able to dive on out to safety. No issues, no harm, no foul, but an early spot onto the Galaxy side as they will now back on away. Chad going in for delayed invade here to try to at least layer down some vision as the mid waves do crash.
Yeah, going to take a little bit of advantage out of that, trying to get a better trade onto the Sejuani, and also knowing that there was vision on the top side, but none on the bot side. So getting the most out of that early ward that was going to happen down during the top side, and already a good advantage for Chad. Stealing away the blue buff, more than likely stealing away these wolves as well, and then this Sejuani having to run towards the top side, maybe can try and steal the blue buff from the side of Lotus, but it doesn't look like that considering that we're going to probably Chad is going to move towards that side as well as soon as possible.
All right, well, Aj gets his push going early on this Yasuo, and it doesn't look like there's going to be too much that can be done for Krakodon about this invade, so it will go on over. As they will be clearing on opposite sides of the red side jungle, will be an opportunity to cross back over here for Krakodon and do the vertical jungling if he does want.
Yeah, and a little bit of trading down here, but nothing else out of the ordinary. Lane-wise, though, pretty quiet. We've seen other games where the laning phase almost always has so many trades that we see more, a couple of members below 50% health bar already at the start of the game. So far, though, much more controlled. Neither side really forcing a lot apart from that early bait. And Ashe maybe looking a little bit more aggressive considering what I was just about to say.
Yeah, nice little slow there found by Reptile, getting that early harass onto Inori. Oh. It's a flash in from St. Ghoul, though. That's a double stun, and Reptile will have to fall back. Clarit's now taking most of the damage, but here comes Chad. Remember, it was vertical jungling earlier on. Chad owns this half the jungle. Nice stun over the wall from St. Ghoul. Comes in with the crash down as well. Krakodon was in the river, but decided he wouldn't get there in time. He pivots over towards the enemy birds instead. Flash is exchanged back and forth. Clarit's getting that slow onto Inori B. Inori B nearly able to find the kill, and that is so many summoners. All 8 summoners gone in the bottom lane, plus Chad's flash.
Yeah, and RB had Flash and Ghost when Chad was really low, but because of that connection from the Brom Q, immediately turned around the play, means that he cannot follow forward, and actually now 4 summoners down for both bot lanes, but the advantage clearly for the side of Lotus. Not only do they steal quite a bit from the Sejuani inside of the jungle, she doesn't even steal anything meaningful from the side of Chad, so Chad just needs to come to his jungle, get back a little bit of what he was lacking, plus the top side of the map, and that's going to be such a big advantage coming in from Lotus. Also, first blood for Yunara. What else can you ask for there?
Yeah, rough for Krakodon here, but he does come in for a follow-up gank onto Robbie Bob. Will be able to connect this stun, so will at the very least probably force a recall here. And the wave not in a great spot. Robbie without the TP. This will give a solid advantage over to Aj as he looks to farm and scale on up as this melee into range matchup. And it's good that Krakodon's able to give some advantage to some lane somewhere, because he was not able to get together a really good response towards that early jungle. He never crossed over into Chad's blue side. That blue buff and first spawn of Gromp and Wolves, it's still just sitting there waiting for Chad.
Yeah, it's waiting for Monkey to eat all the jungle buffs and all the jungle gold that is remaining there. And like you were mentioning, the fact that they are able to push away the arena with no teleport means that now the teleport value kind of diminished from Lotus. There's still a teleport on the top side of the map with the Rumble. And even though Ashe just used his in the mid lane, there's going to be potential for a play on the other side of the map if they really want to force grubs or anything like that. But so far, for Lotus though, the advantage is still in their favor, and they are also getting super early dragon.
Yeah, working on that one off of the advantage that they created. It is a big crash into the bot side from Karshiak, but does not check the dragon. So it will go on uninterrupted by Chad. Does feel like Galaxy not quite prepared for what Chad has gone for in this early game. Not really able to piece together much of a response to the early invade, and not able to piece together a response towards the dragon take, despite the fact that both Aj and Karshiak had solid presence in their lanes. And that Krakodon was on that side of the map. They just don't even seem to consider the dragon a possibility, and so they aren't able to stop it.
Yeah, they probably think that it's not going to be worth their time at this time, so instead they focus on trying to get back gold, get back a little bit more pressure, and make it so that the side of Lotus really doesn't have the leeway to move around as much as possible. That being said, Ash is really strong at this point. He's actually pushing away Robbie Bob in a really comfortable manner, and he also has quite a bit of damage plus survivability, so he can try and focus down a little bit of Robbie Bob here. But really nice up heal by Claritz, and just going to be trading into backing and nothing out of the ordinary. The game quieting down a little bit at this point, but probably for Lotus, one of the better things, because they do want to have this Junara be really strong, but that's going to take time, and same for Imbes and the Wukong.
Now, this is going to sound weird because I play a lot of Orianna. I have, like, by far my highest mastery champion. Did Aj just throw the wind wall backwards to block the ball from coming back from command protect? I did not know you could do that, but I think he did. I'm trying to figure out if that was a misclick on the wind wall or if that works.
No, I think that's the idea. So I do think it works. It blocks the path, so it just stays there, if I'm not wrong.
That's crazy. So you have to go fully out of range of the ball and get it to blink back to you in that situation to actually put the ball back on yourself and get your defensive stats and set up for stuff like Q. That's really good. I've never had that done to me by Yasuo. I guess that speaks more to my MMR than anything else, but very nicely done there by Aj, and we'll give him a solid trade, and he's built himself up a nice little CS lead thanks to that early help he got from Crackodon. Oh, wow. Public execution thrown down from Porsche. He's got the level advantage. He seems to think he can win out this fight, but Karshiak does level up. They're at pretty close health totals. Ults expended from both top laners, but Karshiak gets the wave crashed in, so he's the first one to back off.
The thing is, in a fight, in a 1v1, I think it's probably more valuable to take down the equalizer than your ultimate as the ambassador. Not saying that the ambassador ultimate is bad, but I do feel like if you're getting on top of the Rumble anyway, taking away that equalizer potential plus the overhit value from Karsiak can be much scarier to try and deal with in general, as Clarit's taking a huge chunk of damage there, backing Reptile in that position, and ends up paying the price a little bit more because of that trade.
Yeah, another nice double stun. Set that one up, but the trap has been laid by Chad, and St. Ghoul will pay the price. They had started on up the grubs. They only secure one, and now they're down on numbers. They're going to make the engage happen on a Robbie instead, though. They think this Orianna's up too far. He's going to be forced to flash back away. And if they can keep him sectioned out of this fight, oh, he gets the knockup, goes in for last breath. Aj finds the KO against Robbie Bob, but he will fall to the turret damage that doesn't trigger the passive.
Unlucky that he does not survive there, but anyway, it's a 1-for-1 in a situation where you get the kill. Now Robbie Bob will lose the wave, and it also means that even though you're losing on the grubs, you still get something at the very least. You needed something on the side of Lotus because you already lost your support, and then you were going to miss out on the remaining grubs, but here at the very least you get a good amount of damage. And once again, this is what we're talking with Galaxy. The solo laners are going to be really scary to deal with because one of them can be dealt with. The other is probably not going to be something that the Orianna wants to try and go for.
Yeah, and really nice play by Chad there, by the way. Galaxy ends up with the numbers advantage. They end up with the health bar advantage. They feel confident in their ability to start up the grubs with Crackodon and Aj, but they don't consider that Chad could have already gotten himself into a position, and that's what lets them pick off St. Ghoul and win out on the grubs at the end of the day. 2 grubs to Lotus, only 1 to Gravity. So 2 objectives to 0 for Lotus, and 1 objective away from claiming that feat. Lotus on a real quick collision course with those feats of strength.
Yeah, also pretty much looking at how the map is kind of setting up and how they want to play it, it looks like the Dragon could more than likely just be going to the side of Lotus, the second one, because they already moved their bot lane down there. They already are pushing waves, trying to set up vision control, and the side of Galaxy is a little bit behind on that idea. Like, the movements from Lotus felt like they were just 1 step farther than what Galaxy was trying to plan, and it just feels like it's bound to give them the opportunity to get that second dragon, put themselves closer to the soul point, and also try and threaten it as much as possible as well.
For sure. Karshiak continuing to keep the push up in that top side. There's another public execution coming through from Porsche. We've seen these battles before, and once again, it is Karshiak throwing down the early equalizer right on top of the wave, gets a little bit of damage onto Porsche, and clears out the minions, stopping them from dealing any return damage, and gathering their support to return fire onto the Ambessa. Once again, they end up pretty close in health at the end of the day, thanks to that trade. Not going to be any lasting impact there, and does mean that neither of them are going to have access to these ultimates for the Dragon. And Karshiak is the one who does have the TP, so maybe a little advantage to Porsche there, blowing off important Rumble tools before a potential TP play in the bot.
Exactly, like you were mentioning, probably more valuable to blow away the equalizer than to just play around it or play with your ultimate. It's not going to be the same value. It's going to be much better for the Rumble, and this also takes away some of the threat that Galaxy was going to have. The Dragon was started but was stopped immediately, and they're now looking potentially for maybe a dive, knowing where Kraken is kind of likely at, but at the same time trying to respect it as much as possible.
Yeah, Chad shows himself, has been sticking to the forest for a long period of time. Is going to get knocked on up here, flashes away from that fissure.
Engage.
Ghoul getting the knockback onto multiple members. Chad kind of sectioned off from the rest of the team, but it's St. Ghoul left on his own. A much earlier arrival from Reptile will let them finish it off. And it is a 1-4-0 over to Lotus. This will secure them the Dragon, and it will secure them Feats of Strength.
AD carry moves first to the play, means that they have first attention into the objective and the kill, and that means that now it's going to be another objective for the side of Lotus. Two Dragons at this point in the game trying to force out early Soul and also early Elder, and trying to see how effective can they become with what they are looking for, as it's going to be X deck or Chem deck. I'm actually not sure. X deck. Okay.
X gates activate. And I just got to give some praise over to Chad here. What a fantastic early game this has been from Chad. Just everywhere he needs to be, made plays happen. Every time he's shown himself, has stuck to the fog when he hasn't. Got himself that early invade successfully to throw Kraken off balance, secured all the early objectives, made that pick topside. Just a really, really solid Wukong game from him so far. And it's set Lotus up for success. They got themselves not too big of a gold lead, but really dominating the objective game. And now with these early feats, going to get that little bit of extra value.
Yeah, going to make himself be a little bit more strong here in the game. Plus, also his ultimate value is always going to be great. And if he can get a little bit tankier as well, that's going to be quite a deal to stop some of the damage from the Yasuo and the Kai'Sa. Now, looking at the rest of the lanes, the way that they are setting it up, and how they are trying to play, pretty equal, nothing out of the ordinary. CS leads barely noticeable. The only main one is going to be that one in the top side, and even then, that probably doesn't make as much of a difference. And it's going to be now on how the team fights and the setup for both teams will work out.
If Aj completes a legendary item here, if so, yep, it might be the signal to look for a play on towards this upcoming Rift Herald. It's going to be up in about a minute. And they are very strong on the top side for Galaxy Gaming. Aj with the combo for the Yasuo, Karshiak and Kraken as well with their own ultimates can really lock down and blow up pretty much anybody they find on the top side. Like you pointed out, Chad, not too tanky yet, especially not against magic damage from Karshiak. So could definitely find themselves a play up there if they can get a Glacial Fissure or Glacial Prison connected onto them. Maybe something for Galaxy to look at in the near future.
So both glacial thingies are here in the game, so easy to mistake when in a fight it's going to happen. Where there's a glacial fissure and a glacier prison. I hate their names as well, by the way. But yeah, it should be enough to be able to lock down targets and try and kill them. I think the fact that we have so much lack of fighting in terms of looking for objectives is kind of, to me, showing that they are waiting until they get at the very least a couple more items on most members, and also looking for what objective is really going to be the big deal. Because if it's not this next dragon, it's probably going to be Soul Point. If it's not Herald, then Atakan also looking like it. But at this time, it's already started by Lotus, and Kraken is close by.
Yeah, just a little slower on the move here. Our Galaxy not able to secure the push in mid, and that is so critical for this. They keep Karshiak on the bottom side. He gets about half the health of that turret, but otherwise it is a nice and easy Rift Herald over to Lotus, who continue to just dominate the objective game again. Props to Chad. I give a lot of credit for their ability to maintain that control throughout this early game. They're trying to just hold on to their control over this top side and see if they can force it into a play, but they're just getting pinged out. I think Lotus is just fully aware of what's going on here.
yeah, trying to make a play in that situation, but it looks like they may get corralled here with a attempt at movement from the Rel and the Sejuani Yasuo, but it doesn't look like it's going to turn into anything, and instead it's just going to be a disengage from both sides. It's weird that we've seen the Yasuo, particularly Ash, trying to like move around a little bit more, but it doesn't feel like he has yet to find the way to really try and play the game out, if it's going just to commit into the side lane or at the very least forcing a kill, but he's feeling like he's just waiting there to see what happens.
Now, going to just be a clear out from Karshiak. The gold lead hasn't manifested too much, but like I've been saying, Lotus has just done a great job of controlling the objective game, not giving up anything they don't want to, and they are so well set up to be this kind of team fighting comp later on. Galaxy really want to get these combo skirmishes off. They want to use their Rel plus Rumble plus Yasuo combinations, and have not gotten the opportunities to do it here. Kraken does not connect the Glacial Prison. Great dodge away from the Equalizer using public execution. Porsche able to outplay the gank, but Aj arrives to the scene and will be able to clean up one. Now looking for a second thanks to St. Ghoul. It's a 2-for-0 to Galaxy as they try to chase further on towards Clarice. Glacial Fissure comes on across, a little bit of a turret shot coming through on a Karshiak. He's going to have to back out away. Low health bars for Galaxy as they try to secure themselves a safe route out. Ash has to flash back away. Reptile flashing forward, looking for the play. Will secure a kill on the Aj for Robbie Bob, but the rest of Galaxy is able to escape.
Yeah, the rest of the members can run away, and crucially because of all the attention that was sent down there in the bot side, bringing even Reptile down there, that means that it's first turret blood and a pretty free lane for the Kai'Sa out there in the top side. Really nice advantage that the Nori is able to find there, and huge props to how Galaxy attempted to play that. It was looking maybe a little bit dicey at the start of it, with both members waiting and trying to force ultimates in, but the arrival of Ash, the fact that they have numbers at the start of it and also take down two members really quickly, means that even with the remaining members trying to come in, they're not going to find the best angle. As Dragon has started,
Aj about to have TP. It just came up.
He's doesn't have it.
He does. Coming into that bot side, try brush on steal from Kraken will stop the Dragon stacking, and now Reptile, flashless, ultless, stuck in the pit, and executed by a Nori B. Galaxy are right back into this.
Yeah, that's a big blunder coming in by Lotus, because not only do they lose out on Reptile and the Dragon, they were trying to make it a play for Lotus on the top side with the Herald trying to push a little bit more with Porsche. But when you lose your members like that, and when you're giving space for the other side to not only get those kills but also this turret, even if you get a little bit of extra gold with that push, it's not going to be extremely worth it, because now you're also going to be collapsed on or trying to be stopped for putting vision in your own jungle. But for the side of Galaxy, going to be much easier because they have direct access as well.
Really great that they were able to pick up these sets of kills, and they got them right where they want them to. Kraken and St. Ghoul stayed at 0, right where they belong. It's Karshiak, Aj, and a Nori B getting the gold from those kills that they were able to secure recently, and stopping the Dragon stacking, buying them some really good time as well. The late game team fighting, and nothing to scoff at from Lotus, but Galaxy being able to kind of at least secure one of those, not give up the soul point for free as a cost of that bot lane dive. That's really, really critical for them. They continue to build on up their itemization, and Ori B also now 2 legendary items in the first on the map to reach that threshold, thanks to the alone time he got farming on the top side and all that solo turret gold. He's going to be a major threat for the next couple of minutes.
And now it's looking like what the next objective is going to be, because one of the main things that Lotus was looking for was trying to get that early win condition popped up for them with that early soul into maybe Karshiak. Oh no.
Coming through. Chad.
Hey, he did a lot of damage. Look at all the damage that Chad ate in that play. So there's hope for a future fight.
Ooh, nice shot there with the Glacial Prison from Kraken. Will just be cleansed away by Reptile, but cleanse is longer cooldown than Sejuani Ultimate, so you will take that. This is, of course, a lot of alone time for Porsche on the top side, though. He's pushing onto the inner.
I think he gets it because he gets another wave.
He's got another wave incoming. The fact that nobody can answer this for a while is a little dicey for Galaxy. This could be a lot of money into Porsche's pockets, but they're going to try to start up the Otacon as the trade, knowing that Reptile's been forced back.
So they are looking for Anakin for turret. There's not a lot of chances for them to force into the... Ooh, that was close. There's not a lot of chances for them to force into the inhibitor though, because Karsiak is back up, but it looks like they want to try and follow up in a play here, and don't think it's going to pan out though, because everyone is in a really weird spot. It's going to be maybe only the mid lane turret.
Yeah, great stuff there. They just do it so quickly with Aj and Inori B's damage, the Blade of the Ruin King plus the Goonsus on Inori B, really letting them rip through that Otacon in no time at all, and they secure themselves another critical buff. Big XP advantage given out for that. Gonna be at a level lead for Aj, Inori B, and Karsiak, all off of that secure. That might be the difference when these fights start to break on out. Very, very well done by Galaxy, and a pretty dead even game here at about 21.5 minutes. All said and done, TDS.
Yeah, all in all, not necessarily a bad point to be in, I would say, for both sides. I also wanted to mention just quickly with the Sejuani Ultimate Quick Cleanse by Reptile is that that's a good way to show that ping is not really affecting you, because that was point and click essentially. Like, that was instantaneous and it worked out kind of nicely for them. So for future fights, going to be quite nice to really see from Reptile. Now for future objectives as well, we need to take into account the items. Everyone essentially on 2 items bar the Rumble, but Porsche may be dead here.
Yeah, nice jump over the wall from Krakodon. One more auto will give them the stun. He flashes, but it might be too late. Layered onto by the Equalizer, jumps over with the public execution, but that just puts him deeper into enemy territory. Chad arrives to try to get some interference here, and Robbie Bob, the first one on the TP. Chad,
Robbie.
Cute Karsiak, but now it's Robbie left out to dry. Aj going to be able to finish him off, and the rest of Galaxy coming up on the collapse. They could look for a fight here. Inori B finds Reptile, gets the first shot onto him, and really firing away into Clarice now takes him below half, and they will be able to pressure out the rest of Lotus. Health bar advantage to Galaxy. They want to start working on the mid lane outer turret.
Yeah, that was a preemptive flash there by Reptile, expecting to see Singul trying to flash on top of him with the Rel ultimate, but look at the timing. It's 15 seconds before the dragon spawns. This essentially means that they cannot fight for dragon, because if they go at this point where they are currently, yes, they can try and fight it, but no flash for Reptile, no flash for Porsche, no positioning for any member on the side of Lotus, and also a teleport here to really try and stop it from Rumble. This is a pretty free dragon for the side of Galaxy, and just like that, 2 objectives already going into their pockets. And not a bad one for the Kaisa. The stacking from the Hextech Dragon is going to be really good for her, especially with the attack speed she's building up.
Teleport in there from Karsiak. He may not have the Equalizer, but he is still a damage threat. And we'll get another item into his pockets to try to assist out on the rest of the damage coming through from the rest of the team. Galaxy Gaming really re-solidifying themselves in this game number 1, and now with an opportunity to be able to compete as they do come into the later game, really pulling themselves back together after a rough and tumble early game and a really solid early performance from Chad. He's still playing very, very well here, was just able to secure that escape from Porsche earlier, but hasn't been enough, and Inori B's lead may continue to be a problem here. Some of the CS has been collapsed on by Reptile, but that solo turret gold continues to hold an advantage for Inori B. He's about a fiendish codex up.
Yeah, that one playing the bot lane.
Getting collapsed on. It's a 1 versus 2. Going to start torching back onto him. The damage is just too much. Chad and Porsche able to get the job done, and they get Porsche on the board with the 2nd kill.
Yeah, I'm not downing this duo once again. I really thought they were going to be lacking just a tad bit of damage. Turns out that's not the case. It's going to be enough. And that means that at the very least, you have such a strong side laner in the form of the Ambessa. Funnily enough, even though I was expecting both Karsiak and Ash to be much more stronger in the side lane, it looks like the Ambessa Porsche is going to be the real menace, and whoever needs to stop her probably is going to be the Yasuo, because I think the Rumble is having a harder time each time they force a fight here. Ash's Ambition, I think.
Yeah, it's been tough for Galaxy to find real cross-map plays. Whenever Chad is able to find these kinds of ganks, it feels like he gets to do them for free. They are going to try to take down the mid-outer, but not quite having enough time to deal the damage. It has to be St. Ghoul flashing out as Reptile just has too much damage. They throw out the
wave engage.
They're trying to take an engage here. They one-shot Reptile. Aj was able to isolate him and blow him up, and Chad goes down as well. Porsche's TP into the fray now, able to get himself onto an Inori B, and Aj has to retreat for that reason. It's a 2 for 2, but they've got Karsiak back to fire on towards the wave. Robbie is low. Cooldowns are down. and they want to keep the siege going, but without a ranged carry, they just can't touch the turret.
It's really just an invested diff in that fight, because that angle that they are able to find there from the side of Galaxy is so good. It was looking like it was going to be a persecution onto goal, but immediately turned around into finding Reptile there. The client's barely usable, the flash not available at all, and at that point they just are able to pile down into the Yunara, kill her immediately. And even though the teleport does take the life of Inori B, I think for the side of GG to try and get more value of that quick response is going to be really ideal. We're also going to be seeing more of that in the coming fights, because Inori B now with 3 items, the poke is going to be feeling a little bit better, and you're also going to have to consider that he's ahead of the Yunara, so his damage is going to be more important.
Really necessary coming in towards this next Baron. Galaxy trying to get their waves pushed back out. They've already got Robbie having to deal with the wave in bottom lane. That will get bounced back over to Aj. He does have the TP and is recalling right now. I think that means he's got access to another item. Would really push him over the edge. He does. It's that extra defense from the shield bow, and is just heading right over towards mid lane. Next dragon coming up in a little over a minute. But so much vision layered down over the Baron, I think Galaxy might look to try to start something.
They can try and force it. They have great single targets damage with the Rumble, the Yasuo, and the Kai'Sa. They actually can take it down really quickly, so it could be an interesting choice for them to try and force. The only thing though is that with their comp, you don't want to put yourself too much in a small place, because that just enables the Orianna, the Yunara, and the Wukong to really find more value in general. But overall, 3 items on their main carries, being able to push the vision really effectively, and also having 2 dragons in their pocket means that they're not really scared at this point of the game.
Yeah, Inori B also has access to upgraded Void Seekers, so getting into these extended situations where you can fire them away is plenty good, but they do kind of find themselves ill-prepared for the counter push in mid, and it actually costs them their mid-outer first. Lotus picking up a freebie there, spotting a weakness in the armor, and able to take something. But now, going to still be a little bit of a battle. There's going to be an engage round onto Reptile, into the backline. Inori B, he's caught by the public execution. It's going to end up a 1-for-1, but Aj had to dive to the backline to make it happen, and he's going to fall down in trade. Karshiak has to bring the damage, and he just does not have it. Krakedon trying to finish off Clarice just to try to get himself a little bit of something back, but there's nothing to be found. Lotus with a 5-for-1 ace. They dominate the fight.
That was such a good idea of a fight. They find the angle onto the Yunara just as she has no cleanse, but the immediate reaction by Reptile, really good props for him for quickly flashing away, and also their survivability. Pretty sure it was Clarice with I'm forgetting the name, with the shield coming in from the Solari, able to stop some of the damage and keeping the Yunara alive for as long as possible. Maybe just a tad bit of damage lacking in that play, just one last single-digit amount of damage there to really close down the kill, and then they can move on to the rest. But because Yunara survives for so long, it just enables Robbie, Chad, and Porsche to really get the fight going. And this is something we talked in draft. Early fight is probably going to be more beneficial for Galaxy if they get their combo down. But the longer the fight goes, it's just better for Lotus because of their continuous repetition of summoners.
Yeah,
of ability, sorry.
Yeah, no, Ultimate's all backed up here for Galaxy as they look to get on towards this dragon. Don't need to slow down. In fact, can't afford to. Clarit's a little bit late to this showdown as they try to work onto the dragon. We've seen how quickly they can take objectives with a stacked up. Again. They will be able to secure it. That's 3 dragons deep for Galaxy, 3 in a row as they try to navigate their way out of here. Public execution from Porsche finds an Ori B. He's trying to jump back, but he gets found by Chad, and Karshiak cannot produce the damage. Aj finds Reptile, but it is a run back of the Baron fight all over again. An ace for Reptile and the Lotus.
Could this be game? They have a minion whip in the mid lane, the immediate teleport coming in from Robbie Bob. They are going to be pushing the lane, although it looks like the Wukong backing away means that they probably are not going to try and overcommit or overforce it here. That being said, both of the carries going down, and the fight starts with such a great engage by Porch, finding Inori B on the side. Inori B has played a really good game so far, but that small mistake may be one of the biggest factors in this game, because now they open up the base, they will open up probably an inhibitor, and that also also means that they will have, okay, no inhibitor, but they will have complete control of the map after this, and Lotus looking so close to getting that first game win.
Yeah, such clutch engages. I mean, that's twice in a row that Porsche finds the public execution onto an Ori B and takes him out of the fight for a relatively low cost in the form of Reptile. And you look at this team composition in a vacuum, and you might think that Reptile is the big carry. He is the one that can stand, and if you take him down, you can win the fight. But there's actually just so much damage from the Ambessa, from the Wukong on this Triforce build, and from the Orianna that they were able to win these fights without Reptile. As long as he gets traded for an Ori B and about 2/3 of Aj. St. Ghoul is found in the jungle, picked off, and it is a 5 versus 4 sieging out of the base with the Baron.
Yeah, no more Baron buff though, about to be expired in just a couple of seconds, but it's enough to try and force the push into the turret, and they are going to take down this turret even with not a lot of tankiness on the side. No support means that it's really easy to try and push here. They can actually try and force a little bit more in the base just because they do have another wave, and also they can try and make something else happen here, but respecting it, backing away, and trying to win in the best manner possible. That's it.
Yeah, overstaying really would have been the way to end up throwing this lead for Lotus. They gave over a nice engage to St. Ghoul with the Magnet Storm, or Krakadan with the Glacial Prison. That is how you end up creating a pathway back in for Galaxy. And now Galaxy's options are kind of limited to that Hextech Soul. They really would like to challenge for it if they have any possibility at all, but things have gotten tougher, and they're going to find St. Ghoul again here. Concussive blows stacked easily by Reptile, and Robbie Bob, 9, 2, and 6, quietly having a masterful control mage game.
Yeah, doing such a really good job. Even though he started the laning phase a little bit rough, he never really died by himself or anything like that. Actually, no, there was a solo kill for Ash, but the rest of the game was managed out so effectively by Robbie Bob. 9, 2, and 6 for a reason.
Again!
Ooh, again!
Porsche finds a Nori B. The killer instinct is just plain bad. Gets a shield, but not much distance. Robbie goes legendary as they finish off Krakadan, and I think that might be it for game number 1, TDS. Yep. 5 members of Lotus marching on the base. One Nexus turret goes down. St.
They find Unara.
It's a massive Magnet Storm setting up for Aj, but he's only able to take down one, and you know who that one is going to be. It's Reptile, sacrificing himself for Lotus once again, while the rest of the team finishes off the ace. Lotus take game number 1 in a back-and-forth fight.
Really good performance there, really nice showing, a great showing by Porsche, particularly I would say, consistently dominating some of those fights and some of those situations in the top side. Never really felt like he was in a complete disadvantage against Rumble at all, and then clutch ultimates when you needed it the most. So really barely anything to take away from them, and I would argue a pretty good commanding game coming in from the veterans in the way that you expect the veterans to win, because I feel like for certain situations there were mechanical misplays in some instances, but when it was needed for the control of the map, the way to force a fight, the trying to go for certain things, it really felt like these players have played before in high stakes matches, and really goes to show effectively for them, as we see Porsche being the highest damage dealer with Unara being the lowest of the carries.
I mean, Unara died every fight. Reptile really kind of is there as bait in most of these engagements. They get onto him, they finish him off, but I mean, what I really notice here is that they never really pieced together the true team fight. They were able to get onto specifically Unara and execute specifically Reptile, but they never got any of those big Magnet Storms into equalizers, into last breaths, landing on 2 or 3 people that you really want to get out of a team composition like this. Instead, they got the lockdown onto specifically Unara. They had to commit everything up to and including an Ori B's Killer Instinct to finish that kill, and by then Aj and an Ori B are in so deep, and there's so much damage left from the Ambessa and the Wukong and the Orianna that Lotus just went out the fight.
Yeah, it kind of felt like they were so deep at that point that it was either die fighting or die dying. Essentially, like that was the only 2 options that they had at that point. And for Ori B, for all that he was trying to do, having that sort of build that he was going for, obviously having more auto attack, does mean that he's going to need space to be able to kill targets. compared to something maybe more burst oriented or something like what Yunara was kind of being able to do, that even though she was getting focused, she was able to auto attack a couple of times and make it more valuable. Inaribi didn't have that luxury, so his build, for all that the value that it brings for this particular situation of the game that they were going into, where they needed to kill people fast and quick, probably not the most ideal. And then Ash, for how good of a game he had, I think he also didn't have that much value in the side lane. It was always Porsche really forcing things around him, trying to force things in the side lane, getting a lot of value, and never really getting punished for it.
Yeah, definitely the case here. Really good game from Porsche, really good game from Chad. And it is really all about the top side for this Lotus team. They don't know what it is about Lotus, this split, but they really are leaning more and more into Porsche as a big carry. And what a great game out of Chad, too. If they're able to keep that up, I mean, this could be one of the better top side teams of the league.
Yeah.
You traditionally expect these kind of, I mean, especially it's Reptile, baby. You might think that they're going to be a real scaling marksman focused team, and Robbie Bob, no slouch either, one of the best laning mids and best mage players we have in tier 3. But the main characters this time around, Porsche and Chad, showing up big time. We'll see if they're going to be able to keep that up coming into game number 2. We're going to throw into a quick break to get into that draft. But first things first, I do want to shout out Zen Market. Zen Market is your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They'll even consolidate all your items safely into one box that can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check out the panel below the stream or click the link in the chat to try them out now. If you sign up with promo code Aegis, you'll get 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. In addition, check out the special viewer giveaway by typing !giveaway in the chat for your chance to win a Nintendo 64 courtesy of Zen Market. Thank you again to Zen Market for sponsoring Aegis and the ACL. And we will see everybody for draft number 2 after a short break.
日本国内発送のみ？あ、それなら全マーケットね。
すごい迷宮だ。あの商品はどこに？あそこだ。でもどうすれば。わかった。よっと。はっ。うん。はっ。よし。
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the ACL, where we find Lotus up 1-0 over Galaxy Gaming after an excellent performance from Porsche and Chad, as well as Robbie Bob, to close out the first game. Really good job to isolate the carries. Really good job to punish sufficiently for their Yunara getting engaged on, and they execute fight after fight after fight until they end up winning it out.
Yeah, they use their carry to bait their carry and that way kill multiple people with their carries. So worked out massively at the end. I think they played really nicely. Their idea was good for the way that they wanted to play the game, and it worked out. That's what really matters at the end. And they also needed something consistent to start happening to them, and I feel like that's exactly what Porsche did in that game. I will say I think Reptile performed well enough, although he was maybe cut out a little bit more times than he needed to. But apart from that, played well enough, and the rest of the team responded accordingly to what Porsche needed and the rest of the team needed as well.
Yeah, now they're going to be swapping over sides. Galaxy moving to the blue side, Lotus to the red. We'll see how they adapt, what they're going to go for in the bans for that reason. Trundle going to be the first one off the board for Galaxy, maybe showing that they're thinking about getting a little bit of tank play out of Karshiak in this game number 2.
Yeah, taking away the Trundle here, the Gwen. Probably we could stay with the same bans. I don't think there's any need to really take away things like the Pantheon or the buy away from the ban. Options are available to really find what they kind of want to look for. It's more so probably taking away just the same things as before, although Talia has been one of those champions that has had a high priority, so I think having the Talia ban away, same for this year, makes complete sense against the mid laners.
Yeah, definitely. Is now the Talia going to join that ban list? Azir as well for the side of Lotus. They will be trying to secure themselves a favorable mid lane matchup. That has been a big pick for Aj throughout the split so far, so they are going to look to make sure that it is not given on over to him. That Yone ban, I do expect to see them keep up with, though, so let's find out if that is going to be the final ban out of Lotus, or if Aj is going to get a crack at it here with B1.
So the Vi getting banned away means that there's a chance for that to end up coming through. We will need to see if there's any mages that probably you want to play if you're on the side of Galaxy. But with the Pantheon getting banned away, more than likely there's a chance here to go for the Yone, and insta first pick. No fear, no nothing. Ash going to try and show up with the Yone. So playing the brothers tonight. The Wind brother is going to be played by Ash, and maybe he can perform with them with the Yone more so than with the Yasuo. Hopefully he can really have great highlight plays. And then for Robbie, what will be his answer? Because Zero was banned away. It's a typical one that I think we see most, but seems right on necessarily bad. It can have the push away and the execute, but it's also a champion that is slow and immobile. So if she gets locked down, she can get killed really quickly.
Yeah, all I can think about is that you might be kicking yourself a little bit here for having blown that Sejuani pick in game number 1. Now that you do get Aj onto his Yone, unfortunately not going to be able to pair up with its favorite jungle pairing, but could go for other AP junglers. Don't even necessarily need to go for an AP jungler either. I mean, the Yone dealing a decent amount of magic damage as long as you get a little bit more from some other position. I don't think you have to worry too much. Still, other options available for Krakodon if he does want to go for it. There is stuff available like that, like the Maokai that could still represent a little bit of an AP threat. Doesn't strike me as much of a Lilia player, but I do think that is also something you can pair up with the Yone, and that also doesn't get too hard countered by the Poppy, so maybe something to consider. Instead, it is going to be the Tree, looking at the Maokai selection to start things off for Galaxy in the jungle, and they do get their first crack at what I assume will be half of a bot lane pairing. Can just take a priority marksman here. Maybe something like the Lucian for an EV would not go to amiss.
So actually, I was thinking of the potential of the 6 coming in for Galaxy if they didn't have any other AP damage dealer. Because the 6 bot lane, not necessarily a bad choice. You always have that range advantage, and you can get the push plus also the team fight value. But with the Maokai, not entirely necessary. Like you had mentioned, the Lucian was looking like a potential choice as well. I like the Corki more though. Here you have the poke plus a great amount of damage early on as well, and it can really enable a lot of your late game carry potential if you're able to play this Corki effectively. But on the side of Lotus, there's still a huge amount of champions to pick for. You can go for the hyper carry route if you don't want to go hand by hand against a Corki, or you can go for more of the safety pokey option with Azrael as well, which is still available. And we don't know which pairing in the bot lane is going to come through, so could be a choice for Reptile there. Oh, the Dragon.
Well, Reptile going for the Reptile in the bottom lane could be an option here, and they do lock it in. And they've listen, if it wasn't true before this series, it's definitely true now. Lotus all in on these scaling bot lane selections for Reptile this split, and really relying on kind of a strong top side to be able to navigate their way through these kinds of scaling matchups, because the scaling is so strong for Lotus in this game number 2 as well. The Syndra farming up those splinters of wrath, the Smolder getting the dragon training stacks.
It's all going to be stacking.
It's all about stacking. It's all about wingdings. It's all about whatever wingding Riot is attached to your champion that tracks some kind of stack or another. That's Lotus's game plan here. We'll see if we get who gets wingdings out of top laners. Who likes to stack up something. Trying to think. Let us know in chat if you think of anything.
Nasus? Is it
Nasus? That's a good one. That's a good one. Siphoning.
Well, Sion technically as well.
Sion too. You know what, the Sion I think would fit pretty well the Soul Furnace.
Yeah, in general you have choices, but Sion does get banned away here. Maybe Ornn is the other choice that you go for in terms of scaling if you want to have those scalers. And I feel like for Lotus Scum, you kind of want to have another tanky champion here to really enable the backline to try and shine as much as possible. The Poppy already is here, can be played in 3 positions, so you have a lot of leeway here. And then I would think giving Porsche the counter pick here would be much more ideal than trying to pick blindly for him in this position. So take your jungler or support, get the Poppy in the jungle, and take your pick up the litter here with the Nautilus, a tanky champion, but not necessarily the tankiest as. Ooh, that's aggressive. Nautilus. That's gonna be fun.
All right, yeah. So Nautilus for the engage options here, especially with what looks to be a Poppy in the jungle. Do like to see that out of Lotus. Now, St. Ghoul has played Thresh. He could go for another Thresh game. It kind of strikes me as odd with the Corki, but he's going to go for it. It feels like most of the time when Thresh is picked these days, it's for Dark Passage more so than it is for anything else. But
he's a Lantern
with
bot
Valkyrie,
right now.
Not always one who needs that. They're still going to be happy to snap it up. And Aurora, I think most likely going to be the top lane pick for Karshiak here, and that is where the magic damage is going to come from for this Galaxy Cup.
And weirdly enough, the Aurora has always been one of those priority picks whenever she's available, but right now falling so far below in the draft potential, kind of interesting for me in the way that it all developed. And it's looking like Porch potentially just going for the Kisanta here, a little bit safe, obviously potential to push away champions from a fight. I was hoping maybe a little bit something else here to really try and put pressure onto this Aurora, but he's just going to play the scaling game, the waiting game, and not dying game in the top lane and allow for his carries to really be strong. But realistically, it's kind of like Lotus will play for a timer, where Galaxy is playing as well for a timer, but how quick can I end the game timer, where Lotus is playing for a how long can I wait for the game to last timer.
Yeah, and no wingdings for Lotus in the top lane. Going to just be the Cassante this time around.
Disappointed.
So not going to be having any permanent stacking of buffs this time for old Porsche. And you know, you were talking about mid lane selection. It definitely does feel weird in 2025 to see a game of League of Legends where Aurora's up and Victor's up and Hui is up and the selection is the Syndra. Maybe just a matchup that Robbie likes into the Yone, or just a personal preference pick for him as a champion that he has played many, many games on over the course of his career. So we'll see if that pays off for him this time, as maybe not the most traditional selection, not one that you will frequently see taken in like tier 1 competitive play.
Yeah, maybe not the most ideal, maybe not the strongest at this point, but certainly comfort is also something that you always have to take into account. And if Robbie feels like this is the pick to really try and win the game, I feel like he gets the leeway of deciding if that's the case here. Especially because we need to remember, yes, this isn't Lotus like losing or getting eliminated or backs against the wall, but you don't want to have a confident win, something to boost your mood into the next matchup, because if they win here, they will have revenge against Milk, and they kind of want to have all cylinders going for that.
It is also, I mean, you start to lose control of your destiny a little bit if you lose here, right? You start to get a little uneasy. The margin of error starts to become a little bit lower, because if you lose here, you are Team D. You are locked in as, instead of a team that qualifies here and now in the first GSL, you are effectively locked in as a second seed for a new GSL group that will be drawn, right? There's the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth place teams out of these initial 6-team GSL brackets. They get drawn into new GSL brackets with one team from each finish. So losing here, locking yourself in as quote unquote Team D, effectively means you're going to be a second seed in the second round of GSL groups. And that means that on paper, you are expected to be one of the bottom 4 seeds for playoffs. You're expected to be 13th through 16th seed. That can get a little uncomfortable, right? You don't know what Team E, Team F, Team C you're going to draw in that GSL group. And if there's another team that maybe threw a little early, maybe underwent some roster changes, or is yet to undergo roster changes, that shows up and is more competitive than you expect them to be, you start to get a little uncomfortable. You start to get a little hot under the collar as to whether or not you're actually going to be able to make those playoffs.
I feel we really have the image of CCG Glorb from that split, where they were one thing at the start and then they get immediately changed by the second match, and everything changes after that. So truthfully, like, anything can happen with some of these changes, some of these roster like changes that happen mid-split, and the teams really depend on what they're able to accomplish early on, to not having to go against one of the teams that may upset you eventually. But I do think that Lotus probably feels confident enough that they don't really care if they end up going down there or not. But because of how the system changes, you still don't want to give everything to like a bad draw or anything like that, especially knowing that a bad draw here means that you probably put yourself into that bad draw. It's no longer like luck of the draw, it's more so what you did for that luck of the draw before.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree here. I mean, a fourth place, so again, losing here locks you in as fourth in the GSL bracket. And fourth is what pool Galaxy was in, so it is somewhat the expected result for them, but that does not change the fact that it puts you in some dangerous territory. It means that you're one upset away from not making the playoffs effectively. And also, being a bottom 4 seed in playoffs means you're going to play against a top 4 seed in round 1, which is going to be an NACL team. So it's not really a very desirable position to be in, even if you are qualifying for the playoffs. It basically feels like a ticket to the lower bracket, unless you can really pull off a major upset. So
unless maybe you play in the super week of the NACL.
I think it's more, regardless of which of these two teams you are, it is easier to beat the team in front of you than it is to beat one of the NACL teams. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, the technicalities aside, that's probably the closest thing we can probably get to at this point that I think most people would agree on, because of the way that the league has been going. Maybe eventually we see some of the other things happening and one of the NACL teams bumping out in some weird way, but at this point it's 100% probably the situation that you want to avoid as much as possible. And once again, I think for Galaxy, probably not the end of the world if they go for that, because I do think that this roster is more trying to get to that experience factor, or trying to get that experience in so that they can fight against these teams eventually, where I think Lotus is more so, we're here to win it. And you want to maximize your ability to win it by not going against those super strong teams super early on.
For sure. And, prizes are out through 6th place. So you definitely, if you can get yourself, even if you don't end up winning it all, getting yourself back in towards 6th place, 5th place, getting most of your entry fee back feels very good. And, deeper runs, of course, more money in it for you and more footage to show off to OQ teams, NACL teams, and LTA teams. We do. Even ACL teams coming into fall, right? You want to have yourself a nice team for ACL fall. That is, of course, the biggest and best of the ACLs. That is the one that feeds players directly into LTA each and every year. So do want to always show your best, always have the best performances, regardless of where your seating is. Only good things can come from playing well on stream and off stream, anywhere in Aegis. Want to be winning out every matchup you get, every opportunity you get. So we'll have to find out if Galaxy can be the competitors that they need to be able to take Lotus to game number 3 right here, right now. Lotus, like we called out earlier, went to 3 up against Zero Animosity last week. Does feel like Galaxy also went to 3 against Zero Animosity, also came up with a win. I think the transitive property there is that Galaxy should be able to go to 3 up against Lotus. We'll find out if the transitive property proves true as we get into game number 2. Galaxy on the blue taking on Lotus.
How many times has it happened that transitive property has worked in ACL? I just feel like every time we think
Probably
it works,
like more often than not,
then we get a 2-0.
like...
The problem is that we need to remember that we're in a world where broadcast, or sorry, an ACL broadcast almost always means a 2-0, and transitive property kind of disappears. So like, we need to try and see. If I'm not wrong, yesterday's match was also a 2-0, right? I barely watched it because power and electricity
2-0 for
didn't
Papa's
bother me.
Chunks. So it's not your fault, TDS, is what we know. It is broadcast's fault. Maybe it's my fault, but it's definitely...
No, I don't think so, because we did have a Slayer cast here when you were not here, where we also got a 2-0. So
we'll find out. I'm out a week from today. I'm out next Tuesday, so we'll keep track and see if that ends up making a difference. But yeah, I mean, I do think transitive property is probably true more often than not. It's just usually more easily explained as like seeding diff, right? It's just usually like the high seed beats the low seed, and it's like, yeah, the high seed's beaten a ton of lower seeds, and the lower seed hasn't. So you can easily, just kind of call out that.
I kind of want to think that was the
team
fault
that we think is better one.
draw.
It happens a lot.
Yeah, true. We also get a lot of upsets because teams kind of change players midway, and so one team that should have lost initially is now completely stronger than the other.
Chad.
Kraken is suffering now. That is so much pain.
By God, he's done it again. Chad shows up at the enemy blue buff, steals it away. The vertical jungling master.
He didn't commit flash.
Fully Kraken in this series, and that is not the start you were hoping for as you try to forget about game number 1. It's a little bit of a memory already.
So look at the bright side. Chad did have to use flash, probably to try and get into the position where he could steal that. But it is blue buff down now for the Maokai, and with the bot lane push, they probably can try and steal it, although Poppy is realizing this, running down to the bot side as quickly as possible, and going to try and get her blue buff as well in the process. Or wait, maybe not blue buff.
Oh boy, he's moving over. Chad's gonna try to repeat his crimes. See if he can...
No, this is even harder than that. Like, this is harder than the previous crimes.
It is. He's got his hand back in the cookie jar. He wants to see what he can find. Will Kraken spot him out with a sapling? I do think they are interacting now. Kraken has found him. Kraken has a level here. And
also wave priority.
Yeah, this should be better for Kraken. I think Chad might be getting a little too big for his britches here. Meanwhile, Karshiak has a manaless Porsche right in front of him. They both have flash. I think Porsche is going to die here because Chad is bottom and they know he's bottom. But no, actually, Porsche is just too tanky and Karshiak gives up on it.
Yeah, Karshiak deciding that it's not going to be worth it. Porsche may be low, but Poppy is bot side, and I'm scared about that. And it does, I'm pretty sure Maokai did get the red buff, so at the end of the day, kind of like Chad just wasted time. At the end, it just ended up being Chad wasting time.
I think Chad may have just thrown his own blue buff, but no, actually, Kragedon going back to his own side. I'm a little disappointed in Kragedon there. I would like to see him try to pressure onto Chad's blue buff now.
Especially with the waves.
He's got Prio in bot, he's got Prio in mid. What is he afraid of?
Like, he has every bit of power here to really try and put a little bit more pressure on Chad, and it feels like he wasted an opportunity in this position, especially considering that Chad has no flash. So, like, if he gets on top of the Poppy with the Thresh on his side, that should be a pretty easy hook to connect and a follow-up that could end up being a kill. But instead, it's just going to be Chad collecting his blue buff, collecting his Gromp as well. Well, okay, credit to Kraken, he now is stealing the red buff. So he did get something from Chad.
We'll take that. And he gets the double scuttle as well. So if he does make away with this red buff, then I actually think Kraken gets the credit for masterminding this one, because he comes up with 4 at the end of the day. He's going to try to take away some more camps here from Chad, who Yeah, I really do think kind of overplayed his hand a little bit here after a successful level 1 play. Although Porsche getting that stun on towards Karshiak. This is getting pretty dicey here. It might be a forced flash, but Krakodon on his way up. Porsche gonna flash back away, and Karshiak will hold on to his. Krakodon did flash there though, so it's a 1-for-1.
Was a 1-for-1, but I'm with no teleport here. Porsche is going to lose quite a bit of the CS. He's going to be pushed into the turret with the minions, and he's also going to lose out on the wave that is crashing there. Although he's staying for a little bit longer, but he needs to be careful about that flash advantage that Karshiak does have up there in the top side. As nothing happening here. Poppy also stealing a little bit of the jungle camps, and it just feels like the game. There's a lot of attempts at things happening, but barely anything actually happening.
Yeah, all in all, it's just a lot of camps traded back and forth from Krakodon and Chad. I think Krakodon just thankful that he's trading them this time. He was kind of just losing them last game. So, all in all, a better position for Krakodon.
Oh, look at the back.
Here comes Chad trying to make the play happen. It is going to be Krakodon making his way on over here, but he's still a ways away. Still able to get him out of there with the Dark Passage. So, no harm, no foul for Olinori B here. Saint does blow both of his summoners, but so does Reptile. All in all, I think they're happy with that. Trading the Thresh Summoners for the Smolder.
Oh, they're seeing here.
I mean, this is a no flash, no cleanse Smolder. This is about as easy of a pickup as you could get. And they are going to force Reptile out of the lane. So they should be able to at least turn this into Dragon.
Yeah, they are pushing them away. They have mid lane pressure. They have priority in both lanes. That means that Dragon should be the easiest objective to try and collect in that position. Also, the wave is going to crash into the turret, but they are going to get it for free in the bot lane. And I think we're about to see one of those angles where they trade the lanes here. Lane swap for the Grubs potentially. Oh. Ulti.
See that? Oh, that's an all-out coming in from Porsche. He thinks he could solo kill Karshiak here, and he may very well be right. Karshiak going to be forced to blow between worlds for the escape.
Up in the back.
Chad is en route. Karshiak so close to the wall is going to get jumped onto, flashes away, but Chad chases him down. First blood to Chad.
And flash on cooldown for Chad. He just got it back. He used this once again, and it's going to be first blood for Chad. Really nice play by Porsche, forcing the issue really effectively, gets on top of the Aurora really quickly, and then forces her out really low. And then for Chad, as long as he's close by, it's really easy for him to be able to get on top of anyone because of his potential flash there in that position, and also the dash value. And then even if the Aurora flashes away, the extra damage was just going to be enough there to get the kill. Nice first blood, once again playing it off of Porsche, and a good start for Lotus getting that in the process.
Good start there for Chad, making up for a little bit of shenanigans in the counter jungling game earlier on. Still is the first one to come on up with a successful gank, and is going to make things a little bit tougher. They did redeploy Karshiak towards the top side, so not looking like they are interested in any kind of lane swaps here. Perhaps not wanting to give the Smolder the 2v1 lane up against this Aurora. They are going to send over St. Ghoul as they look to try to start on up these Grubs anyway.
I like the sending Ghoul alone by himself there with the Maokai. Just gives you that extra threat that if you get on top of anyone, you can get the kill. For example, in mid lane, if they were attempting that, that could work out really nicely. As Inorabi may be alone here, but he does still have flash. There's no ultimate on Claritz. And also, there's not that much damage that Reptile can really force here that can turn into a kill. So all in all, I think that it's perfectly fine what they are attempting to do here. As I may have spoke too soon.
Oh, there's the full combo. Everything onto Inori B. He is able to evade the mom damage and does have his barrier, so he is able to stay standing. But uh-oh, guess who it is? Chad shows up, but it will be a pull to safety from St. Ghoul. So all three Grubs secured, and it's going to be for the cost of the health bar out of Nori B. Some free farming time for Reptile in that bottom side, as well as a plate.
They want to stay here. Close hook wave.
Ooh, hooks exchange. Saint doesn't connect his, and it leaves himself wide open for Claritz.
Oh, Chad is still
Chad
here.
just punts out Krakodon. Clever play there from Chad from the fog. Gets the jungler off of the screen, but still can't piece the dive together. Claritz just doesn't have depth charge.
He wants
Makes it very difficult to make these happen.
Chad?
Gonna get flayed back in. It's an early ignite.
Chad?
Here comes Krakodon, and St. Ghoul will pick up the kill. Chad giveth, and he taketh away.
I did not understand the decision there by Chad, as we see Porsche once again trying to force the kill and forcing Karsiak out of that position. But Chad opted into that by himself, knowing that there was no shot that could be a dive angle. He gets into the Hexflex range, but onto Saint Ghoul, and then just dies by himself in that position. Really weird choice, really weird decision, and gives back a little bit of the lead that Lotus was initially able to accomplish, plus also enables the Corki to get a little bit of a free back into the base without having to go against these smaller ones again, and it opens up a little bit more space. Oh,
all out, or unleashed power rather, from Robbie Bob. Will just pick himself up a solo kill there. Aj up too far on the Yone as Robbie Bob TPs back in and cashes out instantly.
Yeah, the counter pick for Robbie Bob turns out it's working nicely enough, because first kill there in the mid lane, really nice attempts that he has had, and also a lot of poke damage that he has been able to accomplish. Also, I kind of want to know how many stacks that he currently has, just to see how he's been doing so far.
See if we can do a little stack check on Robbie Bob. Would like a little stack check on Reptile as well.
Yeah, true.
When we get the opportunity, just to see how they are farming up early on in this game. But coming back into lane, Aj TP'd back. Aj still not on enough gold for his first legendary item. He does, of course, go for the upgraded boots very early to help him evade Dark Spheres, but will be in a little bit of a power trough, I think, compared to Robbie Bob before this second dragon fight. But luckily for Galaxy, they secured the first one, so they are not in too dire straits. Still facing off against a heavily scaling Lotus team comp, you got to think they want to keep stacking these.
Yeah, they want to try and get it as soon as possible, try and keep that control as best as they can. Also, ideally, get a good roll for that soul, because obviously if you're stacking the dragons or you want to try and get the soul quickly, you don't want it to be just a random cloud soul or a random hextech soul. You want it to be, or sorry, chemtech soul. You want it to be something with a bigger punch, especially for their comp. If they get the infernal roll, that can really define the game for them.
3 seconds to go on Dragon. Already in position is Krakodon, layering down the saplings. So hard to walk through these as Lotus. Well, I might expect them to just come and try to take this, or give this away, rather. But Chad hanging out in mid. Need to see what kinds of opportunities will be present for him. Stun connected from Robbie Bob, but Aj is so far away that he's just going to take the route through mid, and there is no help onto this Dragon for Krakodon, so he's actually going to peel off of it, give it up, as Robbie successfully collapses the wave. Depth charge coming through onto a Nori B. He's able to Valkyrie himself out to safety. There's going to be hooks exchanged between Claritz and St. Ghoul, but the damage return from a Nori B is so much more than Reptile can put out, and Nori B takes the kill. But Chad and Robbie were working on the Dragon at the same time. So second Dragon will go the way of Lotus.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I did not understand Claritz's decision there, but I think it may be related to just trying to keep everyone away from the dragon. As
nice CC coming through. Krakodon sets up for St. Ghoul. Chad trying to get away. Steadfast Presence passive.
Great flash there.
A lot to mitigate the damage, and a flash away to escape from Fate Sealed means they will not get any more. And it means that all those tools were not used to try to dive Reptile, so he gets to keep farming in the bottom lane.
Yeah, probably the most important part is that Reptile is going to be kept alive by himself, thanks to the fact that they didn't use everything to try and kill him. But they do get a kill onto Claritz before that, and that does mean that you get a little bit more value down there in the bot lane thanks to that kill. Reptile farming good enough, doing a really good job at trying to keep up as much as possible onto their members, and Oribi going to be stopped but not killed, which I think is the most important part. And I want to notice, or I want to know how many stacks does the Reptile has at this point, because 125 CS, not bad, plus also the amount of poke that he has been able to connect multiple times. Ooh.
Yeah, I would like to see those as well. We'll see if we can get some word from
Aj.
Robbie Bob. Solo kills Aj again, 2 in a row to the mid laner. Doing so well on his Syndra, showing why he put that kind of prio on towards this pick. It is doing excellent in lane up against Aj's Yone.
Well, they canceled the back here for Inori B, so maybe they want to try and kill the Corki in this position, but Porsche is walking too far forward, trying to go for the angle here.
Oh,
he even evades the ulti.
Too far forward now as Porsche uses the all-out to dodge away from Nature's Grasp. The answer is still Porsche. Although he is going back on in, it was Karsiak forced to flash away. Somebody's gonna kill this guy, Krakodon, and Karsiak, you gotta be kidding me. The third stack of Antofo strikes nearly takes him down. They will be able to finish it off, but that is so much time wasted as the bot lane is forced back from Galaxy. Lotus getting themselves a couple of plates before they drop.
I swear I saw every Kisanta moment for the last 2 years in that one play fight Porsche and expected both of them to die, or if not, Karsiak. Luckily, it didn't happen, so I'm kind of glad it didn't happen just because of the memes that Kisanta does bring with him. But I just like saw it in my eyes, all those previous plays happening right there, and almost messing up what the side of Galaxy was trying to set up.
Moving over towards Herald now, and Ori B and St. Ghoul. See if they can get something started in and around mid. Reptile's migrated his way over here. I did get a stack check a couple moments ago. He's at 112, so it's about halfway. But of course, there is a little bit of an exponential curve for the Smolder. Once he starts getting those pass-through Qs, once he starts getting the AoE Qs, he starts stacking way, way, way faster. So he will be online well in time to be able to contest 4th Dragon. That's usually the indicator, as Aj is completely caught inside of that alcove here. Dives through, snaps back. Chad and Porsche play it so well, but a huge bramble smash from Krakedon buys the space still. Here comes Robbie, scatters the weak, and the weak is Aj. Aj goes down, but Anori B able to climb back down towards Clarice. Chad on the other side, a big between worlds from Karsiak. He jumps on over, looking to finish off Chad. Will be able to get him. Porsche taking a boatload of damage from Anori B, but Karsiak will fall on the opposite side. Scatter the weak again, not connecting on towards Anori B, and Krakedon throwing saplings from the sidelines. That's a 2 for 3. Does favor Galaxy.
Yeah, I think a little bit of a misplay there by Claritz putting himself into that spot. Oh, and
no, Anori B. Oh no, the flash too.
Not like that, Anori.
My eyes.
Okay, the problem with this is that this gives fuel to Reptile to say something about EU players and NA players. We cannot do that.
No.
That is kind of the biggest problem out of all of that play. And I was going to say, I think Claritz was the one that committed the biggest mistake there, because he went too far forward when his team was committing on the other side and then died, and then everyone kind of followed suit after that. But importantly for this game, Robbie Bob is really strong. Like, he actually is such a strong champion at this point in the game. 4-0. Probably a lot of stacks already on his side. 2 items, 2.5 items completed. And also you have Reptile that it has been able to stack really effectively that passive and also got a kill. So 2 items for your main carries plus the stacking value that they bring forward. And also opening the map thanks to taking down a couple of turrets. It just makes this game a little bit scary for the side of Galaxy, because they are kind of on a timer that they needed to try and play more aggressive for.
As it's still a caster curse if I didn't even get to say the compliment yet, because I was about to praise Anori B, playing out that team fight on the Corki, really knowing that he's in a power spike with the Trinity Force completed, showing up big time in the skirmish, really able to execute down multiple members. Unfortunately, one of those kills going to St. Ghoul again. There's an alternate universe where Anori B has 4 kills right now, and he is absolutely massive. Still, the 2-1-2 stat line, not too shabby either. And they're going to need to play through and around Anori B to find some success here, because Robbie Bob is just so dangerous. The fact that another dragon goes over to Lotus means the traditional strategy against Smolder to just keep on taking dragons and trust that you'll be able to win out with the soul before he is online. It is just so far away.
Karsiak, no.
Galaxy this game is Karsiak getting collapsed on by 2. It's an easy execute for the 4-0 Robbie Bob.
Wait, I just realized that Lotus has double execute as well.
They do. There's going to be a nice dive in. The Rift Herald knocks up too, but Dragonon just gets knocked down. Chad and Porsche, tanky enough to survive, but still with enough base damage to take down this AP Maokai.
Yeah, importantly, they have enough damage to be able to take it down. Plus, the turret does certainly help out with that really effectively, as they get kills in top lane, they get kills in bot lane, they don't lose their tier 2 turret either. And all in the middle, there's just a free Reptile farming in the mid lane against Anori B that barely can do anything to try and kill him at this point, because he is a little bit behind now. So next objective will be up in 3 minutes or 4 minutes, a little bit less than 4 minutes since it's the next dragon. And also the Baron buff could be something to try and look for, but I don't think it's going to be enough, as close.
And once again, feels like Shades of game number 1 here, where Reptile is doing fine farming up. even if they full send towards him and blow him up in these fights, Robbie Bob is going to be so strong that they'll still find success on Lotus's side. Going to really need to have some critical team fighting from Aj and Karshiak and Inori B to be able to deal with multiple big threatening carries.
Oh, the re-engage.
Engage coming in on
Oh wait, Robbie Bob.
Oz to the back line, finds Robbie Bob. He's isolated. He's shut down. St. Ghoul, the one who picks up a kill onto Clarice, and that's a 2-0 fight already for Galaxy. Lotus just not quite in position, not quite geared up, and for the second game in a row, it's looking like Galaxy are going to be the ones to pick up the Otacon.
Yeah, they were looking to try and contest in that fight. Like, the idea was not necessarily bad coming in for Lotus. I don't think that's a good hook angle for you, Ghoul.
I mean, this is a magic resist Cassante. Inori B just kind of tearing him apart here. Chad gets in there, not able to secure the smite onto the Otacon.
Look at the damage here.
In from Reptile, looking to pop off, gets himself a double, make it a triple, but Karshiak shuts him down and gets the kill right back. Now Krakodon keeping the CC going, throws back in Porsche, another weirding, nearly gonna finish him off. Karshiak needs to find one more shot, they need to find one more sapling, they need to find one more something. Robbie Bob is TP'd in, Karshiak has to flash away to keep himself alive. Another weirding gonna slow him down, and they decide they have to cut their losses and run. Not able to finish off Porsche. Scatter the weak, lands onto 2, and Robbie Bob, even though he died at the start of the fight, he is gonna get his one way or the other. Not finding his way onto Krakodon, but they'll settle for Karshiak.
Krakodon is too quick. Wait, ignite.
What are we doing?
Ignite.
All right,
he
that's
gets
1
kill.
for 1. I mean, the kill goal goes to Robbie. I think that's
yeah.
worth.
I think that's the most important part. Robbie getting that kill, but the ignite was about to be the play of the kill in that situation. But like you were mentioning, the fight was so long that Robbie Bob and Clarice both respawn and both had teleport, so they could both come back to the fight in that situation. And also, Porsche didn't die. Even though they had a lot of damage in that situation, they couldn't kill Porsche at the end there, and that means that for them getting the Otacon was great, but you still gave 3 kills to Reptile. Porsche doesn't die. Robbie Bob gets another kill as well. He now has Rabadons completed. Plus Reptile, that is on 22 stacks. That's 3 left.
225 is the upgrade. He's gonna have it.
Yeah, 3 more. Yeah, he has the execute. So now double execute before
it's inevitable
even
now. He's got it. It's happened.
That isn't a scary prospect for them now.
Very, very dangerous for Reptile here, especially after a recent triple kill right into his inventory. They need to blow these guys up nice and early, especially Reptile, if Galaxy want to be able to find a fighting chance in this game. 30 seconds to go on the next dragon would be the second for Galaxy. They are not happy to be in that position. They really wish they were contesting Soul right now, but that has not been the way that this game goes. And now a fully online Syndra and Smolder stand between them and a shot at this series win.
They're behind them, trying to stop the wave from coming through. They could try and pinch them into their base, but they're also going to lose their turret because they had first move into the turret, they had first damage potential there, and also Dragon, like you were mentioning, it's not sold, so that means that they really don't care about trying to fight for that Dragon. They can just take the turret, back away, and then try and get something else, or a reset and something else in the map. It's much more comfortable for how Lotus wants to play it because they are in driver's seat at this point.
Yeah, really tough position there for Galaxy. They tunnel too hard onto the Dragon, and the second that they see 3 people show up topside, you just know their hearts sink, and it's just, crap.
Oh, no, Inori.
I guess they get everything here. Not enough spheres for Inori B to be finished off there. He does pop the barrier, and it is enough to stay standing, but still 2 inner turrets. Oof. For the likes of Galaxy. Reptile going to be able to finish that one off. That is so much money back over to Lotus. They're nearly 5K up now.
Yeah, this really is scary because like they have so much gold in their favor. They have so much power at this point in their favor. They have Reptile dead.
Big flank here. He's just going to solo out Reptile. Beautiful flank on the Aurora. And Karshiak creates some space for Galaxy on the map.
Yeah, there was a pretty good amount of sinning there by Reptile. Trying to go for that red buff in that position means that he cannot contest there. As Porsche is getting attacked, he's probably not going to die here. It's Clarice teleport. and they don't have Robbie Bob here either yet, so we're probably not going to force it right now. They're going to wait a little bit longer and maybe force now the fight here.
Oh, what a hook from Clarice finds its way onto Karshiak, who doesn't have any cooldowns available, but Clarice's reward for that hook is going to be that he gets blown up by the Rafflecopter, and Nori B coming up with the kill there. They will be able to take down the mid turret as well, and meanwhile Chad is getting chased by Krakodon. Once again, got to remind everybody, this is AP Maokai. He's dishing out plenty of damage all on his own, and Chad will nearly drop for it.
Yeah, Chad almost died in that situation. He's not going to back just yet. Probably thinks that he can take the scrub with his L-bar. More than likely right. But they killed Clarice, forced away Chad in that position, and they take down the mid lane turret. Not a bad trade for Galaxy after finding Rectile before that as well. So all in all, really nice that they were able to get that effectively and setting themselves up for at the very least another big fight for the next objective, be it Baron buff or the Dragon in 3 minutes.
A throwback to old Maokai this game, back when Sapling was the highest base damage spell in League of Legends.
Isn't that great?
Max it. Although here comes St. Ghoul going for the engage on Robbie Bob, going to exchange flashes with him. Reptile forced to get back over the wall. A pretty good victory for Galaxy if they're able to navigate their way out of this. A hook comes through on a Krakodon, trying to create some space with the Bramble Smash, but he's almost certainly done for. But a beautiful pull from the Dark Passage will save his life. St. Ghoul making a lot happen on the Thresh this game. I mean, he just blew flashes off of both of the critical Lotus carries. Unfortunately, he puts his team in a bad position as the Baron is being started. There's still 4 Galaxy members here. They got to show up to contest this.
They want to try and contest this. The problem is that there's no Ghoul in this position. Noribi has no Valkyrie here, and there's no Maokai as well. Clarice really want to go for the play.
Grass comes on through. Weirding doesn't connect. Oh no! Lotus. They clean up the Baron. Galaxy, they thought they did something good. They got some summoners down, but they waste too many resources. They retreat too soon, and they lose out on the Baron buff. And Ori B will get an inner turret as a little bit of a compensation.
They may get another turret down there in the bot side as the Ash is close to the tier 1 turret, and they can try and get the kill there. But all in all, the gold value that they get out of that... Oh,
Chad looking to disrupt recalls here, feels like. Just give themselves a little bit more time on the map, extend their turn.
Yeah, I should be going fine.
Yeah, Chad is in deep behind enemy lines here, and seems like he's just fine with that. I don't know that Galaxy are aware of exactly where he is.
I don't think their team is ready for that. Oh, Ghoul.
Oh no, St. Ghoul is certainly not expecting Chad to be here. Not going to be able to get the wall bang, but still St. Ghoul just taking too much damage. There's too many members, and backup is too far away. Another kill to Lotus.
Yeah, and a couple too many ultimates who's there as well. There was 2 ultis just to kill the support, but that kill does mean that they get a push in the bot lane, trying to set up the mid lane push as well with the Baron buffed minions from Chad, and then trying to move into the base. With no Ghoul here, the threat of the hook kind of goes away, and even though Maokai ulti is up, it kind of feels like without all your team here, trying to opt into it is not going to pay off because of Porsche.
Karshiak was pushing top lane as well, so it was kind of a 5 versus 3 here for a while. Chad trying to keep the siege going, and mid, and Ori B helping out Karshiak. They're just going to completely forfeit this bottom inhibitor. And the first inhib of the game will go the way of Lotus. They find themselves in a solidly advantaged position now on the map with that constant push coming in through the bottom side. Can they get the mid inhibitor turret as well? St. Ghoul is back and available, but he doesn't connect the death sentence. Look at Porsche just creating space, pushing back Aj. He's so tanky.
Oh,
finally, they're going to the engage. There's the all-out, pulling St. Ghoul back over the wall. Chad's just been one-shot by the damage of Karshiak, and Krakodon looking to finish off Porsche on the opposite side. Pulled back in by the Intofo strikes. Good damage coming in from Reptile. Takes down an Ori B with the execute. Karshiak is here, connects the Weirding, finishes him off. It's 4 kills for 1 to Galaxy. What can they do with this window?
It has to be the Dragon. They have open space to go for the soul point here. It's only Robbie Bob with no flash, so I don't think he's going to try and commit to playing that position. And the wave in the top lane is also really big, so I think he's going to just go and contest there. But all in all, great play coming in from the side of Galaxy. Porsche going way too far forward, and now we're finally seeing how only building magic resistance is really beginning to bite him back, because Inorbi essentially did all the damage in that position and killed him really easily in there. And then the ultimate from Maokai, really good spot because it locks down Chad and then forces both Reptile and Clarice to try and go back without having any way to support the team. Robbie Bob is already way too far away to try and help, so that just means that the fight is so disjointed for Lotus that it's easy for Galaxy to follow up on multiple members and get kills. The only bad part is that Inorbi did die.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just a little underwhelming for getting a near ace at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
Galaxy have to settle for third dragon, not really giving them a huge amount of power that's going to help them win the next one, which is really what you want to do. You want to get yourself some kind of lasting advantage, either a big buff that'll help you win another fight or get a bigger advantage afterwards, or taking a bunch of control on the map, getting yourself some standing gold from turrets, getting yourself some income back. Instead, they cut the gold lead from 6K to maybe 4K, and they're still in a really rough position against two very scaled hyper carries.
Yeah, it's like because of what happened beforehand, right? Because that is a 4-for-1, 4 killed or almost ace. Wait, Clarice. Okay, he should be fine. But before that, they lost an inhibitor and an Nexus turret. Like, they were already losing so heavily before that, that even though the win is big, it's not enough to really turn it into anything. Chad?
Chad getting found by Krakenot, but the damage dealers aren't really here. And Krakenot, using the wrong escape route, just finds himself face to face with the entire Lotus team. Porsche gonna cut him down.
Who really is getting found out by whom there? Because Krakenot gets picked off, gets killed, and that means that they can now finally start moving over to the other side of the map. They really want to try and get down all inhibitor turrets down, and maybe all inhibitors while Krakenot is down. The waves, though, are not at the best spot, and it's not pushing fast enough for them to try and make it happen, although Inorbi should be fine.
Exchanging a couple of blows there with Porsche. You can really see how much damage he deals here, though. Yeah, not a heavily armor build from Porsche. Doesn't have the tabbies, especially. Oh, big damage onto Karshiak. He thanks his lucky stars that Robbie Bob didn't get a chance to push R.
This means turret. They have to run away here from Chad. Chad pushes away in RB. So it's going to be the last inhibitor turret down, the Nexus the inhibitor getting attempted on here, and nobody teleporting on the back. So they are going, oh wait, Chad
connects. It's onto Chad. He gets taken below half. St. Ghoul taking a lot of abuse for this on the opposite side. Nature's Grasp is pretty big. Connects onto multiple members, but the follow-up not quite there. Good harassment from Karshiak and Inori B. And you know what? They hold on to their inhibitor, TDS.
Yeah, only one inhibitor down just now, but that's still the base completely open for the side of Lotus. Nobody dies either, and the Baron is spawning in 10 seconds. They could really just wait here, wait for everyone to be back in the map, and then try and force the Baron buff in this position.
Very possible. Find out if that is going to be in the cards for them here. Is continuing to exchange blows are this Galaxy and Lotus squad. A faint kill lead actually to Galaxy here, but Lotus with so much control over the map. Starting off the Baron, and Galaxy are finding out too late once again. Aj has the teleport. Will he expend it, or will they just give this up? They say, hey, we're too late. It belongs to Lotus.
Yeah, there's not a lot of chances there to really be able to contest that, so they are going to try and force instead a last effort fight. Either protect your base and win the fight or lose the game. And I think makes sense for the way that the game currently is. 32 minutes in, so much gold difference between both teams, although it doesn't really matter at this point with how it's going. And then looking at the gold leads, even though 3,000 gold difference between both AD carries, 3,000 gold difference between both mid laners, and 1,000 gold difference between both top laners. It's not really how they want to make the difference matter, but more so what they got to make it matter. Like, the item wise, it's only really one part for Inori B, and that's about it.
Now Robbie and Reptile keeping themselves plenty safe here and just absolutely wrecking anybody who steps up too close. Nice knock-up found there by Oz, but it's only onto the front line. It needs to be some way of accessing Reptile or Robbie, and honestly, it probably needs to be both for Galaxy to be able to find a space to fight here. They're going to lose their third inhibitor. It's the full 3 inhib setup. Nice immune from Porsche, going to absorb the death sentence. and the pressure is mounting for Lotus. Super minions coming in from all 3 lanes. Inori B trying to find somewhere to shoot, trying to find somebody to deal damage to, but he is just pushed back by Reptile, who is untouchable on the baby dragon. And soon enough, Galaxy are going to be forced to make a move. They need a deep TP. They need Aj or Karshiak trying to find some kind of flank angle, a little bit of harassment. Finds its way on Reptile. St. Cool throws out the death sentence, but it only connects onto the super minion. Big scatter of the week. Does not find its way towards any of the members, but the first Nexus turret going to fall. There's going to be the Between Worlds. Karshiak jumping back in, pumps out the big damage. Going to be able to get onto Clarice. He's into the back line, but he can't find Robbie Bob. Robbie Bob takes him down for a killing spree. St. Cool connects the hook. Robbie is down. Chad pushing back onto Aj, but taking way more damage than he bargained for it. There's going to be Reptile, tear it apart, crack it up, and an Ori B, still at full health, will push back the remaining members of Lotus. It's a 2 for 2 as the recall will complete for Porsche.
They still have teleport by Porsche, so he can try and come back here if he really feels like he needs to come back in this way. But they won that fight effectively on the side of Galaxy, killing 3 members, killing Robbie before he could even flash away, or actually 2 members before Robbie could flash away. And it means that now the game is not going to end soon enough. It's going to be another potential fight for Galaxy to really try and turn this. And it's Inori really on the back here, getting so much damage going and being able to kill multiple targets. As, oh, he may get cancelled here. Oh, Inori not like this.
Stand and fight this. He's nearly going to be able to take down Chad. Gonna switch targets onto Porsche, but here comes Reptile. That's the big threat. Reptile stepping up, takes one auto, just completely shrugs it off. And now Porsche in the front line. They've got their fight line set up. Mom coming out across. Inori B is pushed back. Inori B is too low, and Galaxy cannot risk the whole game here. St. Cool is going to fall. It's Chad in the back line. Chad nearly taken out, but he's still tanky enough. It's a dash forward from Aj, making it a 1-for-1. TP into the back line. Karshiak on a massive flank, throws himself at Reptile. In comes Krakenon. A double knockup from Aj, and the entirety of Lotus are torn apart by the meat grinder that is Aj and Karshiak. Here comes minions though. These recalls need to be completed. Clarice will fall, but Inori B can't get back in time. They're all still working on the dragon. The second wave is spawned once again. Somebody has to get back here and deal with these. Where are Karshiak and Inori B? They've arrived. They should be able to take the aggro. The Nexus will stay standing. The Nexus turrets will eventually respawn. Soul secured, and Galaxy with one last finger clinging onto the edge of this game.
Yeah, I really don't know what Chad is trying to do there, neither Porsche. Like, wait for your carries to be there to wait for the game. Inori B was by himself in a position where they could try and go for it, but they never expected the collapse from Karshiak either. They never expected the Reptile to really die so quickly in that position. And then, because Robbie Bob is not there, if you lose one carry, the other cannot respond either in that spot. Everything is just working now for Galaxy, and there's a real chance that they can turn this around. If they win one more fight, that's game for them.
It could be, but oh man, I don't know if Ocean Soul is enough to stand up towards how scaled Robbie and Reptile have gotten. And with no Nexus turrets, there is basically zero room for error. The big thing of that, the 2 fights ago, the fight in the base, the big difference was they didn't have to use their TPs to be able to make that defense, so they still had them for Aj and Karshiak to be able to come in, make the flank, and win a second fight.
The problem is now that, so there's one teleport available now in the game. Oh, wait, Inori B?
Oh, Chad.
Oh, he gets canceled?
Able to stop the death sentence, or rather the dark passage, but he is able to get away with the flash. That is no flash now, down for Inori B, a massive loss for Galaxy.
Also, quickly just to point out, both carries with 6 items, so the difference in damage completely, or the difference is gold completely negligible if there's any at all. And then both mid laners also have Sunjess and Robbie Bob, Guardian Angel on
Flash.
Ooh. Ash
onto Aj. Aj is gonna get one shot, but he does have the Guardian Angel. Can they stand and defend? Can they fight on the corpse of Aj? Goes in for the Foot Soul Unbound, returning damage onto Clarice. Aj is still standing. Inori B firing away onto the front line. Takes down Chad. It's Karshiak into the bat line. Reptile is down. A critical rocket connects from Inori B, but Robbie Bob is still standing. Robbie Bob is still fighting, and Krakenon is forced to fall. fall back. The Nexus is exposed. There's minions coming on in, and Ori going to have to continue to proc on towards this Ocean Soul, and Crocodile's going to have to turn this. Gonna have to get out of Robbie Bob, create an angle for an Ori to fight. The Nexus turret is respawning, it's reconstructing itself, but it won't be enough to stand up to Robbie Bob and Porsche. They need to be able to get them off of these inhibitors. One more rocket connects, and Robbie Bob taking even a little bit lower, and it's so risky now for him. If he goes down, if he desyncs his death timers, it could be such a big loss for Lotus. Cracking on in an Ori B, stage the defense, force them out, and hold on yet again.
Baron Boy is alive, and Robbie Bob has no teleport, so they could try and go for an angle here to try and force the teleport, although Porsche has teleport as well. Wave on bot lane, nobody protect, or Wave in top lane, Wave in bot lane, now trying to protect the base, and the Baron looking to be the objective they are going to go for. The only thing here, no teleport for Crocodile yet.
For Bob spotted by a big sapling. That's a big slow, and that's a lot of damage from this AP Maokai. Porsche TP'd and did not find the flank. That's no more TPs for Lotus, while Aj and Karshiak have theirs.
Oh, Robbie Bob gets it stopped as well in the mid lane, so now they cannot fight this. Robbie Bob has no teleport.
We'll see what Galaxy can set on up here. They have a couple of inhibitors. Nexus turrets are respawning. Baron below half HP. Here comes the punt out. It connects on a Krakenod. They're going to be able to steal it. They have to stand and fight right here, right now. Chad looking for the smite. Will be able to steal the Baron, but Reptile has been blown up. Karshiak found him. He takes down the major carry. Porsche is torn apart by an Ori B. 5 versus 3. Galaxy are marching on the base.
This game is still going on, and even though there's supers knocking on the base down there, there's not enough ways to try and push them into the base from Galaxy. No inhibitor turrets, or one inhibitor down, 2 inhibitors open, and turrets that just rebuild. But it's not going to be enough to stop them, and now they're going to go for the push. It's only Robbie Bob, really. For 20 seconds
on Reptile, the same on Porsche. They're TPing back. They want to end it right here. Aj coming on in. They're trying to guide these minions back into the base. The inhibitor is down. They're going to be able to take down the first. They connect the hook on the Clarice. They're just going to full send it onto him. Fate Sealed going to be able to take him down as an Ori B goes legendary. The full force working on these Nexus turrets. Robbie had enough damage. The minions are gone. Reptile is back. Porsche is up in 3. And Galaxy have got to give up on the push. They're backing on away. Out of the week connects. They're trying to take out St. Ghoul. Another numbers advantage could secure them a win in a future fight, but Nature's Grasp is buying space. Nori B playing up far, knows that he's dangerous, but they have to give it up. There's a giant wave crashing in to the exposed Nexus. Or actually, these are the Nexus turrets. I forgot. They respawn, but they don't work in the Spectate client.
Yeah, I'm hating the fact that I do not understand what the hell is going on with those minions. But like, they killed something. That certainly worked out. Oh, Norby's here by himself. He has to be careful. Every inch potential there to kill Norby is going to be really scary, because he also doesn't have flash just yet. He will have it, but it's not up just yet. And Elder Dragon up in 10 seconds.
Aj has a shot on a Reptile here. Is he going to take it? He goes in! Double knockup, but doesn't have the Fate Sealed! Was it too early? Big between worlds! Karshiak into the back line! Cannot get the damage he needs on a Reptile, but is able to force him back in the fight. Crocodile waiting in on the flank. Doesn't have Nature's Grasp, but it will be up here soon. It's looking out of St. Ghoul. Is that a critical enough target? Ghoul's going to end up falling down. The slow comes in for the rest of the squad. So much damage. Pouring in on a TC Porsche. He's going to be able to dash back. And now Nori B is vulnerable. Another shot from Reptile. He's got the executes, and he might be able to take down the whole team. Robbie Bob finds another target. Out of the week. It's a double kill back to the Syndra. Aj is working solo on the Elder Dragon. I don't know what game you're playing, Aj, because this one's going to be over before the Elder means anything. Lotus getting cross map, base to base, looking to end the series and get themselves a rematch with Milk.
No way. Well, there's still the last hope. Ash with the ultimate. Oh, Karshiak. Okay, maybe not enough
goes into stasis, jumps back away, trying to stand and fight. Fate Sealed to the back line. Knockbacks onto Chad, but Robbie and Reptile are still standing. Lotus turn it back around and will win this series 2-0.
That was way too many heart attacks in one game that should have ended like 10 minutes ago. What the hell happened in that time? But huge props to Galaxy. I feel like this is one of those instances where I cannot give the props to Lotus first for winning, even though they won. Because like Galaxy did such a good job at surviving, finding great teamfight angles, Inoribi really trying to be the hyper carry that he needs to be in this sort of games and almost pulling it off. That last fight is really unlucky there because he was, I think, probably like 10-15 seconds away from having the flash back up after the fight, and unluckily it didn't work out in that situation. If he has flash, that's probably a different fight at the end there. But huge props to Galaxy for bringing it back in such a massive way, and then for being really close to pulling it off. But close means nothing when you end up losing the game, and for Lotus, importantly, they are able to close it down. Really good game by both Robbie Bob and Reptile. Maybe a couple of mistakes here and there by Reptile, but stepping it up when they needed to.
Absolutely here. And that will be a 2-0. The curse is never broken, TDS.
Yeah.
It merely goes away for short periods of time. Evil cannot be killed.
We were baited.
He goes to sleep. And
we really were baited there with that second game, almost making it happen.
It was really close. Galaxy going to be kicking themselves just a little bit for that loss, but will indeed go over to Lotus. At least some positive takeaways for how well they were able to challenge the veterans today. But it is a win for them. Lotus get a rematch with Milk coming up next week, and that will be an exciting one. All right, it looks like we are going to have an interview with Reptile. So we're going to take a quick break here while we get that set up. First things first, do want to once again shout out Zen Market. Zen Market's your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops in Japan, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They'll even consolidate all your items safely into one box and can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check out the panel below the stream or click the link in chat to try them out now. If you sign up with promo code Aegis, you will get 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. In addition, check out the special viewer giveaway by typing !giveaway in the chat for your chance to win a Nintendo 64. Thank you again to Zen Market. We will be right back with an interview with the victorious Reptile.
Bro, just use Zen Market.
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's stream of the ACL, where we are joined by the victorious Reptile from Lotus. Congratulations on the 2-0 win tonight, Reptile. You guys have got yourselves a rematch with Milk coming in to next week. So, curious as to your thoughts on that team, especially after a 2-0 loss to them last week. What are you looking at to improve on? What do you think went wrong the first time, and how do you think you might be able to change it this time around?
So first thing, I think we pretty much threw the second game when we played against them. Like we should have 100% won that game. I think it was our first time playing together. So the more we played, I think the better we synergize. Like I was able to include myself in comms much more the last two best of threes than the first one. And I do also think we were really like lost in our style, what we wanted to play and stuff. So now that we figured it out a bit more, I'm not too worried about that game.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious as well with thinking about the first time you played together, because we were talking about this in the cast as well, where you guys are one of the few teams, I'm not sure if it's the only team, but few teams that doesn't have like other members here either. So I'm kind of curious if it's just a straightforward way of saying you're going to stay the 5 members all the way through and there's going to be absolutely no changes going forward, and if that just means that you're going to like, because that's a good thing. We usually see teams split up really effectively, so I'm kind of curious if that's just the way that you guys are going to set up for the whole season.
Oh, I mean, for now I'm just going to play ACL with them. I don't know my plans for next year and stuff. I mean, I'm also still like playing pro in EU. So yeah, we're just like we're just doing the tournament now. Like I'm playing with some friends, and yeah, I came here to sling some dick on NA. Like, yeah, let's see
You're
what I can do on
playing on the superior region now, so like you're going against the tougher competition, technically speaking.
I mean, them losing against like 120 ping 80 carry is kind of embarrassing in my opinion.
It's true.
I can't disagree with that. So let's talk about that a little bit. So we do. Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, we mentioned it on stream a couple of times. But Reptile, you're playing from Germany, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So you are on ping. What's it like? Let's make this a little two-pronged thing. What's it like playing on NA? Period. Playing some little NA comp, but also what's it like playing comp on that kind of ping? How is it more different than you expected, less than you expected? How is it playing, especially 80 carry from that kind of position?
I mean, it's like I can still play macro the same way I play on any ping, right? Like the only difference for me is the micro. And yes, obviously that is much worse. Like it is really hard to like play on like react to certain stuff on like a 120 ping. I got caught out in the first game quite a little bit because I was trying to like ult dash on Yunara and stuff, and I mean I got hit instead. But yeah, I mean I do still feel pretty comfortable playing. Like I don't think laning phases or something was like super hard. Like no one has impressed me in lane yet, and yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys have got for me.
All right.
We just have to wait and see. You guys are going against sub competition anyway after this, so it's going to be fun. Not namely Milk. I think eventually there's obviously going to be a strong competition out there. But looking more so, I want to focus once again on the team because I find it interesting you say playing with friends. So I'm kind of curious, like, have you played before with your, not competitively obviously, but like have you played before with the members of your team, and were you like actively looking to play with them in a tournament in an A at one point?
Okay, I mainly know Chad and Clarice. So like they just asked me if I wanted to join for this tournament. And I just said yes because I was like down. I thought it would be a fun little thing to do on the side. And yeah, I haven't really played with them on NA before or anything. I just know them through mutual friends. And yeah, we've known each other for a while. So
okay, that makes much more sense. Also, if you know Clarice, can you please explain to me why he wanted to like kill himself like 15 times on the Nautilus in the second game?
Oh, yeah, he pretty much likes doing that a lot. I mean, I don't know if you guys like saw his solo queue games, but bro is playing Twitch support, dying 20 times every game. I feel like he might just have like a little king for that. I might need to put him on the leash for next time. I wasn't strict enough.
Keeping in mind that we are a PG-13 stream, what are your general thoughts on that game number 2? Because things got a little messy there. There was a little base-to-base action for a little while there as some of those fights started to turn the wrong way, maybe get a little overeager.
Yeah, I felt like we always pretty much dove too deep. And then Aurora could just go on me. I'm smaller, I don't have any magic resistance, so she just has a free time playing into me. Nautilus can't really peel because she can just dance around in her ult, and it's really impossible for Nautilus to hit ult or the hook, because she can just cancel it with W or walking into the ult. So yeah, I feel like we struggled on figuring out how to play the fights. But yeah, besides that, I don't really think that game was too hard to play. Which is like macro was fine. We got like a lot of objectives. I think we had 2 Nashers as well. Yeah, we just really messed up in every fight. And I think if we go over that, we can fix it for the next series.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Anything else from you, TDS?
No, I think it was a fun game. I'm excited to see you guys playing against Milk, and maybe one of our AD carries shits on you on 120 ping, and that way we can not have to go back there once again later on.
All right.
All right, last word to you, Reptile. Anybody you want to shout out? Anything you want to say to those still tuned in before we close out for the night?
Nah, I'm good.
All right, well, thank you very much for hopping on, Reptile. It's been a pleasure having you on, and best of luck for the rest of the ACL. Thank you to everybody at home who's tuned on in. That will close out ACL for the week, but we will be back next week, Monday and Tuesday, once again, as we close out this first round of GSL groups and move on towards the elimination GSL, as well as the seeding GSLs for the first and second seeds out of this first stage. So it's going to be a bunch of fun. Hope to see you guys here. Same bat time, same bat Twitch channel. And from myself, TDS, and Caddy on production, we hope you guys have a great night. Remember, that is code Aegis for 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee and exclamation point giveaway to enter to win the N64. We'll see you guys next week. Have yourselves a great night.
Bro, just use Zen Market.